mute yourself, and then you can get my first person cast, which will be most of me just rambling and swearing, probably.
Makes a lot of sense. Yes, so we are live with Group B of Ascension number 2, and the Shambler is reviewing some of the updates of the game. And the first matchup is the same thing. So Mystery Meat and the Shambler have to play another game before Mess can join in and start really tisman things up. Should be a good time.
I don't have high expectations for this. I was kind of hoping I was going to end up in the "My name is you" and whoever else group. It might have been a little more, a little more balanced in my favor.
Well, I think if you were, for example, in that previous group, that definitely would have been the case. But
yeah,
it's just unfortunately
luck with that, yeah.
With the way that the timing works out, like these guys who are the best players that we have are all mostly available at the same time, which means they have to be in the same group, which is pretty unfortunate. So.
I took matches off of Shambler in the distant past, but I think he's playing better now, and I'm not familiar with the balancing and the economic stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of what I did in the past is not as viable anymore, which is why I'm trying Protoss, because, well, at least I have some experience with Protoss now playing against Sublime a whole bunch, but I don't think that's going to prepare me for Mystery, because Mystery is very different, very different early. I might still be able to win against them if I can push it to the mid and late game, but those were at the tail ends of many, many dozens of games against Shambler that I was able to start doing that. So,
you know what's so sad for Gudom? I did fix the overlay this time, but I just forgot to toggle it on OBS. Look, it even says Ascension 2 instead of the wrong number. Isn't that good?
I think Cyprians can one-shot anything they want to. I think it's their choice to make. It's their body.
Yeah, it's their target.
I don't know.
Well, what is good about this is we get...
We'll know right away because we'll start getting hash errors.
Yes. What is good about this is that we have Terran, Zerg, and Protoss, so...
Yeah, that's the other reason I went Protoss, because then we'll have 3 different races. It'll at least be interesting to watch.
Are you ready, Mesk?
Mm-hmm.
All right, waiting on...
I'm ready. Let's see if we can get some more typing going on.
Let's see. I think you can make him type. I think that's possible.
Maybe.
I don't know if you can make
I think he's going to try
type.
to all-in me every single time like he has been in these matches, honestly.
Mystery Meat will spawn in the bottom left, and he who shambles the Shambler will spawn in the top right. This is Repulsion, as per usual, and I'll go ahead and prevent Canada Moments from making Shambler type.
You can't prevent Canada Moments. Don't be goofy. Don't be goofy.
Hey,
So
wait a second. It's not correct, because I didn't name the group Group B. Oh, what a goofball. What an idiot. Honestly.
So, we're in the same matchup.
Yes.
Same positions. Different patch. Cyprians will no longer turn Gargakars into meat. Mysterious meat, in fact. The unknown, unnamed, strangely delicious but unusual looking meat. That's probably going to make... Wait, what? He's going Hydrock. Shambler! What is this bullshit? You're not supposed to go fucking Hydrock when you were gonna spam shit.
He didn't run the right version! Aw, goober.
Goober.
Well, I think he waited until he had 50 gas, so... What the fuck? Well,
now you're You're desperately checking through your files. Did you actually change the quarry?
Yeah, I did.
No, it's Skiths.
Oh, I didn't. Absolutely slap.
No, the Skith is annihilating the Mason. Absolutely destroyed.
Well, there will be an anchor in response after the initial silliness.
Okay, you changed the fate of the universe by having him make a Maverick as opposed to a Cyprian. How are we ever going to recover? How will the world will ever be the same?
I mean, I'm fine to remake with the fixed quarry thing, but I can't believe we had 2 Terran players who had that advantage without me noticing.
Yeah, nobody ever said anything.
What the hell? Dude, this is demented.
That little wiggle really got me. That was something else.
Alright. Yeah, he's testing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now he has no fucking health on his Skither cores. Alright. What a start to a group stage.
This is already off to a more artistic twist than usual. Okay, so what's Shambler going to do? He's got some idle workers.
He does.
Do you think he's typing?
What is he doing?
He had a moment. He had a moment. Oh, I know all about that. I feel his pain. I've had that happen too many times in my games.
I didn't see what he did. All I saw was the
He
aftermath.
accidentally clicked his workers, probably with a double click or something like that, and moved them all.
Oh, classic.
Oh, the Maverick is fucking obliterated, absolutely.
See you later, Benno.
demented, Annihilated.
Nice of you to drop in.
Okay, so it's spam of Skither cores against Cyprians who can no longer perforate them. Who do you think is going to win?
There's a decent amount of watchdogs here, but the anchor's out of position, so
I
this
think
could be
Geek
pretty
would tell you that
decisive.
Skither cores destroy everything in the entire game.
He was somebody who said that, yes.
Apparently they destroyed an Nexus in like 5 seconds or something.
Well, the Cyprians were not even in the anchor.
Down.
Yeah.
First blood.
No reaction just yet from Mystery, who seems to be rather
And they
confused.
no longer penetrate. That means you can actually deal damage to them. Look at it. Oh, it's being repaired, so that's no good.
Oh, move command.
Oh, yeah, that happens too. We see that every now and then. One Mason down. Oh, 3 for 1, I suppose. Shambler's keeping him on his toes, keeping it real. Knows it works. It may embolden him to do various silly things. Like one base Skither cores. Mystery is going to notice there's no expansion there. He's going to be curious about that, but there is some worker spinning around his main. I'm not sure really what he's doing. Oh, he's going to build the stockade.
Well, it delays. It does delay.
Almost as if Shambler is like, what the fuck?
No, that's a good delay. That stops him.
It really is, too. You can just cancel it. I mean, the worker might have died anyways, right? So...
It's just a funny visual.
Just a million Skither cores en route. You know, that might discourage him from building Cyprians, but I don't think so.
Well, it does mean that if you transition into mass air with Gorgs and Skiths, you probably do want some Goliaths, so...
Yeah.
Yeah, the one base Skith.
But he's just going to make another stockade, yeah.
Yeah.
And another anchor. You know, the solution is just make more of them.
Yes.
God, that's a lot of Skiths, so this could become frightening if he can keep them alive.
Yeah,
He's
there's
just
8 of them on
one-basing
the
them.
route right now, so...
You see, okay, now he's going to go build. You know, I was going to say, if you delay it long enough, another fucking Mason comes up there and builds another barracks.
Yeah.
That would be...
No, it's going to happen in the top middle, obviously, so...
possibly.
Masons can repair this, but the reaction time's a little bit too slow there. Mystery Meat is basking in the glory of beating the Shambler and making him
Little
type.
wiggling.
So...
Angry wiggle there.
Fulcrum's on the way. Sees the commitment to Skither cores and raises you some Goliaths in the future. Actually, Cyprians or Cyclops would be pretty good because of the guaranteed splash. So That's another option for them since they
They'll also have good range if you stick them in the anchors, so they're a little frail, but you can still protect them with the anchor. And Skiths are still pretty short range, so they have to get
2
up to
range.
you anyways.
Yes, Cyclops will have 4 or 5. I don't remember which, but definitely enough to keep him at an arm's length for sure. I do like that Shambler is patrolling the back of his base for incoming anchors, so there is that.
Yes, he knows. He suspects. But not today.
More Fulcrums and more Goliaths are going to be on the way. He's got the opportunity to drop down some vestries wherever he so desires.
There is a Mason inside of his base investigating the appearance
Of
of the Zorkiz.
Yeah. Some
I
worker
do
transfer.
expect it to be Gorgakors, but you know, Goliaths and Clerics, I don't believe, are changed at all in that, so it's just going to be more of the same, really. Oh. But he denies the vestry. That's emotional damage at the very least.
If he was able to deny the second one, too, that would definitely change the calculus a little bit with regards to
It would
how
slow down the impending
yeah.
explosion, anyways.
I think when he sees that, and he also notices the Fulcrums, assuming he did, in fact, notice them, that should be a little bit, pretty solid for anticipating what's to come.
I don't know, I think, like, holding to tier 2 is your best bet to deal with the Goliath Cleric problem.
Yeah.
But he's not even, like, going all into gas. He's not even touching it on his expansion right now. I feel like it's just going to be a repeat of last time in that case. Although the Skiths could do a lot of damage if the Goliaths end up being caught out of position somewhere else on the map. The Skiths hypothetically can fly in and much more reliably deal damage to the base without having to be worried about being shredded by a couple of anchors with Cyprians in them. It is going to be Gorgakoras. It's going to be all in.
More watchdogs being built back here, though, and the Gorgakors are pretty far away, so I think the Skiths are going to take a little bit of time before they even pull the trigger on this attack. And that'll be more than enough time for the watchdogs to finish. More Goliaths being trained. Clerics already on the field. So this could be a push out to at least get some aggro on the map. Again, I like the Gorgakor patrol. The Skithakors come in and just see what's going on. They don't suffer any losses, but they don't get anything either.
I think you really wanted to have Gorgakors with them on that, because then they'll just kill the workers that are repairing.
Yes, a very useful
as opposed
tool.
to taking a bunch of health damage for nothing, and probably just encouraging to build some more up there.
Well, this Mason will get spotted out in the middle of the map here.
Well, the Skiths are going to get spotted out in the middle of the map here.
Yes, even falling back, and the Cleric's not being focused down either. Oh, it doesn't even stay long enough to kill that one, and ends up losing quite a few as a result. The Gorgakor is nowhere to be seen here. Yeah, where are they anyway?
He's got one in his main, and another one. He doesn't really have that many. He just has a couple of them.
Yeah, interesting. Lakizilis and some Hydras as well, but this attack is going to hit the top middle pretty soon here, so...
Oh!
Cancels and turns it into a worker, which will get...
Which is going to get stepped on immediately.
Watchdog on the way.
This is really deja vu all over again.
Yes, it's happening a little bit faster than the Shambler dealt with in the previous round. He's got a lot of minerals, but nothing to really dump them on just yet. Doesn't want to get Zeristoleths for this particular fight, although a couple of them thrown in wouldn't hurt, but maybe he's worried about this larva production. Instead, just more workers.
Additional Goliaths are en route. Presently, Meat has no eyes on it. Oh, never mind. He is sending a worker over to take that third. He's just going to bunker up, I suppose. Just sit here and camp for a while. I guess he's not comfortable enough to push in at the moment.
He's got some anchors on the way, yeah. Definitely will make this position a lot harder to deal with. Particularly, you can put the vulnerable Cyprians in there, and they become a lot more durable, so... It's going to be Goliaths instead, and maybe he just fancies himself a little crawl forward.
The feet are advancing.
Now remember, the +2 range does apply to the Goliath, so the anti-air becomes 9 range, which is pretty staggering.
Well, Shambler can choose to approach from this cliff. There's no Anseals and no star pads, so... Oh, he's going to put some other vision up there instead.
Interesting.
The feet crawl ever closer up Shambler's leg. Well, I'm expecting to see a star pad any moment after that. Don't think he's going to try to push this without a star pad. Yeah, there it is.
Well, at the same time, the anchors are being I'm gonna go ahead and get popped. There's so many missiles slamming into these Gorga cores, though. That's 2 Skither cores, 2 Gorgs, and yeah, there's another one right there. In fact, he didn't even kill the Goliath, so he's actually got more forces in that general area.
It drags him in.
That was actually deliberately ordered there by Shambler.
That was an interesting interaction.
Getting tickled. I like that the cleric is desperately trying to reach that Goliath. That's
yeah, there's
can't path it.
an autism breakdown going on.
Dance all day.
Just absolutely losing its shit. The feet are advancing, inching forward hungrily.
Well, the anchors land, but they're in range of the Lekizilisks. There are some Kagran Cesians being placed down, so the Shambler is going to try to... What is happening? Oh, he's hitting the circuit. I was looking at the wrong way because of the busted overlay. Classic move.
That cleric is still spinning. Just losing its shit. It's just absolutely insane.
It wants to heal the Goliath, but it can't. She's just not able to jump up. She's not a Reaper.
Yeah, we gotta add some jump pack tech or something, you know. Or maybe like just being a dropship, heal from your dropship. That's so clever.
Well, the Gorga cores came down and shattered the base in the bottom middle at the cost of some Skither cores. What treasury will have to be rebuilt. And actually that means that if Shambler can saturate this base down here, you know, he doesn't have a direct way down, but if he can build some workers there or something without Mystery Meat finding him, he'll actually technically have a mining base advantage, but it is looking a little awkward here. I don't know that he'll be able to do it.
The feet are advancing steadily and assuredly.
Oh, goodness. Well, there's now 2 of them in this one spot, and the Hydras don't know exactly how to move on. Zorislath is on the front line now, but I think the Hydras have sustained too much damage. And the Anseal's even here to start peppering the Lekizilisks, detecting them, revealing their position. Oh, dear. That's 3 dead Lekizilisks in just a moment, unless it's unburrowed. No, it narrowly escapes. Oh, but don't worry, okay, we're fine. We're fine. We're fine, folks.
You gotta, you know, it's like herding cats. Oh.
Honk.
Nope, the big man charges for, and is dead.
Oh, there's more on this side.
The one's dead.
Using the cliff advantage to his advantage. Gorga cores charging in. This is the last desperate move, but there's so many Goliaths and there's so many anchors.
There's so many feet. All the clerics are killing the one Goliath. It will never die. Never die.
Can't.
So he goes for the
possible.
feet. At least it'll take vision off of it if it can kill all of them. But
there's
additional
There's another
feet
one.
en
It's
route.
ready to replace it. Honk. Oh, where's the typing at?
Oh, a Cyprian has fallen.
Okay,
at least it's a token victory.
That is good. That's 1 dead unit. So.
Oh. I think at this point he might have more clerics than Goliaths, at least on the field. But really, I think with 1 Goliath and that many clerics, he can probably make do.
Well,
Shambler intends to test that theory anyways.
Yeah, he's already lost one of the circuits. It's regressed back into a Kagran, so...
Wasn't even able to kill one of the clerics.
Oh, goodness. Oh, dearie me.
Oh. Did I tell you?
Look at that.
Continuing.
He is continuing on forward. I see the NCL sort of scouting him out over there in the middle of the main. This confirms no tier 2, so at this point I think he knows he's got him on the ropes. This Atros not being used whatsoever in the mid-right. More anchors being constructed on the front lines. We haven't really looked at Mystery Meat's base this entire time, but...
We haven't needed to. This is his base.
Yes, that is true.
Where the feet are is where the home is.
Yeah, home is where the feet are. You know, you hear
about
these
Gorga cores are roaming around the map looking for anything to nibble on, and there isn't.
There's nothing. Look at all the watchdogs in the bottom middle with all the Goliaths. There's the treasury moving on to the mid left. More Anseals being rallied over. Look at this, the elevator move to bring Goliaths up to that high ground ledge.
This is what we call feet tactics. It's really thinking with your feet.
Oh no, he's not close enough. The Lekizilisk thinks he can attack, but it's Lard. It's Blizzard code. It doesn't work that way. Oh, let's go. The Gorga core's charging on in. I think this is the Hail Mary.
Can they make a dent?
The Shambler's from Texas. This is his Alamo. And I think it's going to go the way of the actual Alamo.
Oh, he got one of the Goliaths. He got 2 of them.
Wow, that's shocking. He's also got a lot of anchors, but that's just because clerics can't.
He got
build
another
buildings.
one. One of the anchors is on fire.
Well, 25 seconds later.
There's nothing. Oh, there is a mason to repair it.
Can it get there?
If meat can think to repair it.
That one Goliath on the high ground. Just,
Yep.
there you go. He charged on forward.
He ran in just to make sure it burned down.
Yeah,
but it burned
I
down
like
before
that.
he could even do anything.
I do like that play where he's just like, I'm gonna get you. Oh, you got yourself.
Oh, the Manor Wraith has appeared. Wait for it to start killing every worker.
It's gonna idle right in between us, Wraith, so I think it's gonna just die. Oh no, he's microing
Probably.
it. He's trying to find a spot, or he's just rescouting. I don't know what he's doing. It's pretty funny though.
Checking out for where that tier 2 is. I don't think he's noticed that expansion yet.
No, he's gonna find it on this scout patrol though, and the Gorga cores are down in the sort of bottom right area. That's where they're tasked on.
No more feet are being built.
No more anything.
No tier 2.
Yeah, from either of our players. In fact, Mystery's mined out his main and natural, and Shambler's not far behind him. However, he does have this 3rd base active, so he can certainly bank up the gas necessary to drop a tier 2.
The Wraith is going to just sit there and hold position above the mineral line, waiting for unsuspecting Droleths to walk into it and die.
They were rallied to safety.
No, they don't die today. Shambler charges forward, complete with all of his Droleths.
Oh my goodness, he's pulling
It's
the
a
boys off
final
the
all
line.
in.
The Lachesis needs to burrow, but it's too far away. It's going to burrow and not be able to attack anything. It does take some pot shots at a Goliath, but that's about it. Oh goodness.
So many clerics. Even killing them without the military units would be a trial.
Get him with
It's
the
a
workers.
massacre.
LOL.
LOL.
Type more. GG. All right, well. He couldn't type enough to win.
He couldn't type enough.
There you go.
It was
Mystery
an
Meat.
effort.
He gets up one more, and that means Mesk, you play next, and you get to
Yes.
pick the next map. Isn't that exciting?
You know what map I'm going to choose, Pro No Go? I'm going to choose Maim Street.
I thought you might, you beautiful motherfucker. All right. Well, I can update the overlay, and then I can host Maim Street. So I'll hop back into this channel after the game. See you soon.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We're jumping into Maim Street, boys. Mesk is going to be filling in for none other than Nibelheim himself. I did see Hawk in the chat earlier. Shout out to Hawk. Cool guy. Sometimes he plays NHFFA, and I know him from some of Greth videos. I was always thinking to myself, it would be great to get people like that interested in Cosmonarchy Brood War. They can give us, you know, they're just higher skill than the average player in our player base. They can give us a lot more, you know, potent feedback about the, you know, objective balance, you could say, of certain things. So, if he is in fact interested, we would be more than happy to have him around. Hey, there's the hoop thrower himself, Chumbeck. Chumbeq, actually. Which is kind of like saying you, actually. So, IskatuMesk, aka Donald J. Trump, will be playing as Protoss for this tournament. And now, I will initiate the ready check. And now, we shall absolutely smash. Let's get into it, boys. It's game number 2 of Group B of Ascension number 2. And we have IskatuMesk on the right-hand side of Maim Street, a map by Darkened Fantasies. He is the bronze Protoss, while Mystery Meat is the turquoise Terran. Now, when you get the bronze color randomly rolled, I don't know if that means that you're about to do something really epic, or if it means that you're actually just kind of bad. I know which one Mesk would say, but this guy is planning on doing a lot of non-standard things. Protoss in Cosmonarchy Brood War have no tech requirements. You drop the pylon, and if you have the money, you can do whatever you want. While Terran obviously do have tech requirements. And there will be the quarry first, partially fueled by the fact that I forgot to actually increase the gas cost on that. But don't worry, I'll fix that after this. And partially because the quarry first is fairly solid in general, right? It gives you that extra worker queue. So even though it does slow you down and basically hardline commits you to a more macro-oriented game, that's where Mystery Meat shines. That's where he's not too interested in, necessarily rushing down the game. We do have the back pylon there, and this should already immediately make Mystery Meat a little bit suspicious. Of course, it's just going to start off as a gateway, so it's not non-standard tech, but it's definitely non-standard positioning of the structures. In Cosmonarchy Brood War, your units pop out on the side of the rally, as we'll be introducing when this Mason exits here on that side. So what you'll notice there is that he doesn't need to worry about the units exiting on the bottom here and then having to go all the way around. He can use the rally point to his advantage. And indeed, Mystery Meat, after cheekily stealing some gas, will confirm that there is no pylon anywhere. And maybe I'm being, tickled somehow, somewhere. It looks like there was a... I don't know. I don't think that was a gas steal. I think there was a pylon somewhere that got canceled. I heard it. You can't really gas steal as Protoss in this. It's just way too expensive. It is time for some of the stinkiest cheese we've ever seen. Now, Mystery Meat is moving in the general direction of the gateway. He doesn't know where exactly anything is, and he's even pulling this worker back as well. So that's actually not going to get found, and he's just going to be looking at this like, where is this guy's stuff? What is he doing? There is a single Maverick on the way somewhere. Where's it going? It's stimming around. He's looking desperately to find the proxy, but he doesn't know that Mesk is really proxying himself right now. When the Drakodin finally does arrive and the anchor is completely constructed, we will be seeing a Cyprian staff it. That should still allow the Drakodin to do some things. Oh yeah, I guess I should set the network so that he doesn't Canada boom in himself during a game. A Warden in the back line. Expensive, but we'll see if it works out. Another Drakodin just finished. Will presumably be rallied at some point, and the gas harvesters can be picked off quite easily on this map. The anchor will indeed be lifting off here. Losing a couple of workers isn't the end of the world. And, in fact, Mesk is going to take a little bit before he actually realizes what's happening. He doesn't manage to get rid of yet another worker, and now he's going to go ahead and start tickling the Mason. The Mason wants to make contact with the Drakodin so it can stop the shields from regenerating, and indeed that's exactly going to be what happens. It will be successful, and the Cyprians will live to fight another day. Although I think with proper ore blocking, Mesk could have picked off one of the Cyprians, or maybe brought it down to just 1 HP. Or not 1 HP, but 1 attack from another Drakodin. There will be a pylon over in this general vicinity. I think that's going to get scouted by this Mason. And a Maverick still desperately looking around. Where is the gateway? Where is the tech? Is Mesk going to go for a base? Is he just going to go for more silliness? I think he's going to take this base in the top right. And the pylons are cheap, so it's not too difficult to just drop them somewhere that you want to drop them. Starpad coming out, more anchors, a treasury for an expansion. One thing I did like about the previous group, Group A, is that 3 Crow did try to do some interesting things by going Ministry so that he could hold on to the position a lot easier. We can probably stress that aspect by making treasuries a lot easier to snipe by maybe subbing out some of their HP. But it's something to think about for sure. They have 1 less armor than a Ministry. But they I say this, they only have 650 less HP. That's still a decent amount for a building, though, and in the early game, it might not be enough to dissuade you from actually, taking that. It looks like the gateway will be scouted. Drakodin is not going to be able to kill that Mason in time, so it will find where the gateway was this entire time. Very silly stuff. Not exactly what we would have expected. There's another pylon in the back line. It's actually it's not going to block this landing, but it is going to block a quarry, which is actually kind of annoying for Mystery Meat, since the treasuries themselves cannot train Masons. Another thing, of course, that we can do to improve the decision between Treasury and Ministry is we can add another add-on that obviously you can't take if you're building a quarry. And I was already thinking of a couple of ideas for that. But we'll talk a little bit more about that, maybe in some development stream later on. Wraith is out for Mystery Meat. He'll be scouting around and seeing what's up. His Maverick, his poor drug-addled Maverick has stim packed 5 times now. What is Mesk going to do with his gateway? An Astral Omen off to the side. Probably Exemplars, but there are Wraiths in play, and Exemplars cannot attack air. Crucially enough, the Cyprians in here did not load into the anchor, so they have to do that first. And then the anchor can land. If it... No, he's going to have to give it a stop order because of some acceleration funny business, so that's really funny. Absolutely slapped by a bug. Hey, you can start tickling the treasury. And you can do a little bit more eco damage if you can keep peppering the Masons there. But now they're in a position where they're on the other side of the anchor, and now the Cyprians can also focus on the pylon. Meanwhile, Blizzard pathing. I'm not seeing the cheese just yet, but there is a scribe back here with a pylon. So he's kind of being annoying with the pylons, but he doesn't really have much at home. So as soon as Mystery Meat erects an army, so far it looks like it's going to be Wraith-minded. It should be more than enough to deal with whatever he's got going on here. And not charging forward to deal with the Cyprian, to deal with the repairman, really, is definitely proving to be a little bit difficult for Mesk. He does have double Warden, so he can deal with the Wraith threat. They might spot, a couple of these pylons out and about. Might spot these scribes and put them out of their misery. And an Exemplar is indeed the unit of choice, so... the Wraiths will spot it. I think that means they are going to spot the Astral Omen, too, so... no longer relying on the element of surprise here. And nothing to really escort the Exemplar with. The Wraiths will pick it apart eventually. There's actually a lot of Wraiths right now. He does seem to see the shimmers, and he's able to remove the Exemplar from immediate threat. Missed opportunity for Mystery Meat to pounce on it. He's killing his own pylon because he did block his structure, so this Dracoden is going to be dealing with some Wraiths soon. Oh, maybe not. I wonder what Mist is up to. Warden's over here. Not really going to be able to do too much, but might be kind of annoying. Nothing else out of the Astral Omen, just a single Exemplar. Starting to build a Gladius. Those will be good for dealing with Bio, and maybe also with the Wraiths. But you do probably want detection versus this many Wraiths, and I don't think that's something that's in the cards for Mesk. I don't think he's really scouted at all the presence of the second star pad, and he also hasn't... I don't know if he's got a head count or a rough idea of how many Wraiths actually exist right now. So this could get depowered. I'm not sure if something was canceled or what. He's seeing all the Wardens. Doesn't want to pick a fight with that mid-right base, that's for sure. Maybe it was... it was the pylon over here finally going down so that he can take this base. The horde of Wraiths can certainly deal with what we have over here, right? They can focus down the Gladius before it can get its balls up. So many Wraiths. And Mesk is not looking immediately here, so... Oh, did he notice? I don't think so. A guessing game. There are a lot of Wraiths. Matrix is out too, so that's pretty good, and I think he did see that. So he really should be throwing down an embassy. Indeed, it's already almost done. So he's thinking about that and thinking definitely could use some witnesses right about now. More anti-air. Wraiths starting to reveal themselves, at least the rough number that he's got where it's more than one control group. And yeah, this Astral Omen is going to get depowered. Only making 2 units out of it. That's a little puzzling. I'm not sure if he intended to do something else with that. All these wraiths will eventually deal with this Astral Omen, so... Just picking apart the extremities. An automaton register for idols is not a bad move. And the witness is almost done. But at this point, I think they're leaving. A single Dracodon is making life a little bit miserable for some of these Benno clones. Got him. Shaman, Ancials. Another treasury to expand again. Technically, Mesk has a better economy than his opponent in terms of bases, but he has way less workers, so his saturation is much lower. He will be taking a fourth. Certainly going to try. He got himself stuck. Absolutely slapped. 4 Ancials, 5, 6 Ancials, and all the Wraiths means that that's pretty lethal, potentially. Now, there's only one idol, which can be focused down. But they do have pretty solid, splash damage, so not the end of the world for Mesk if he can get more than one of those up, but I think at this point... Yeah. Gonna have to cancel that Nexus. Gonna depower the gateway. That's not insignificant. He's even gonna have a cannon a moment. Complimentary. There was an envoy in production as well. Does he want to do something about this? Definitely peppering a lot of the units there, getting this good share of the splash damage, but he has lost the gateway. The big thing that's hurting him the most, I think, at this point, besides the fact that he's got so many minerals, but so too does his opponent, there's really not much of an opportunity for him to deploy too many units, right? He lost both of his extraneous production structures. He only has the automaton register in his main, as well as the embassy, which, yes, it can train envoys, but it's just being used to ferry a scribe over to the bottom right, which is not actually an island, but... Watchdog will be deployed there. The Atlas is just about finished. Fulcrum's on the way, so we will be seeing probably a Phalanx-oriented push, but it could also be Madrigals to deal with the 2 air units. The Wraiths are still moving around, doing what they can. More idols have been trained. I'm still not seeing any other production structures, and Mesk has 3k in the bank. He is moving some Dracodons up here. The Sentinels are on their way, but they will be interrupted. The Wraiths are here in time to deal with this force. He wasn't target firing the workers, which would have at least forced rebuilds, but... I think technically... No, never mind. You can't do that. I was going to say he might be able to pop his stuff out there, but... Grand Library is being put down, or at least a Grand Library. He needs more build space, so he's dropping more pylons as well. Getting an anvil on that treasury. There's an interesting idea. He's looks like he's self-destructed the vestry over here, so he's planning on dropping a covenant. Give him access to the Eidolon, which means that he can drop some nukes. This Nexus going down once again, but there's nothing really guarding it, so he can choose to respond to this with the forces that he has estranged over here. Does lose an idol for his troubles. And sure, he picked off some wraiths, but... he's definitely on the back foot at this point. Way less than half the workers, almost a third of the workers of his opponent, Oh, I don't know if he spotted all the idle workers that he has over here. There we go. Now this base will give him access to plenty of gas, so there is that. Argosy, as well as the 3 Grand Libraries, are out for some Atriuses, which will definitely help with the Wraiths if they stay in one place for too long. And it is going to be Phalanxes, so contending with a ground-focused army. Both of these players are at this point. Obviously, the Wraiths are certainly air-focused, but I don't know if they're a massive threat. An Engram being warped in over here will definitely start dealing with them. Heavier tower here deals plenty of damage. Quite good splash. Nexus in the bottom right. Not really anything happening with that right now. Forces stationed over here can transfer some workers, maybe build some more. Certainly needs them. And I'm not sure what he's planning out of the Argosy. The Wraiths are going to take a look at over here what's going on. There's more than one pylon powering this stack, but you could obviously focus this one down and you depower the engram. So that might be something that he looks to do later. There is a nuke. I'm just not 100% sure where it is. Oh, okay, right here on the space. He's actually building stuff right here and doesn't see the nuke there, so that will go ahead and land. And that does mean that the radiation fields are going to go ahead and spread around a little bit. Ah, he said he didn't get a notice. That's interesting. Well, the Wraiths are flying into the radiation and dying to the engram. So I wonder who really came out on top of that. But losing workers at this point is really rough. Another nuke going off. Very quick cancel. Get his money back. Spend it somewhere else. Now the good thing about nuking is that it does take a lot of APM for you to do, so... Problem is, look at this, he's already staffed this area with a bunch of Sentinels, and that's really going to interrupt any would-be attempt. It's 3 armor pen on the Sentinel. Means it can penetrate Dracodons and etc. I wonder if Mesk is surprised to see that he's still in the game at this point, because he was telling me he wasn't very confident he'd be able to take on these players too much. Double engram in the back line. No witness here to really... Oh, there is a witness up there, but no units there to really deal with too many of the threats. And Mesk is kind of falling into a trap that I've seen him fall into before, where he has a lot of units and a decent number of bases, but that Warden will be destroyed. Or it can go up. Well, Anvil's almost done, and there it is. Missile is ready. Morning Star, as they're called. But unfortunately for him, the Eidolon's about to get found. So for now, Mesk is spared. I do like the little micro base over here. This does mean that you can return resources to it. More Wraiths scouting around. Ah, the nuke is in the bottom right this time around. This is sounding like maybe, judging by his movements, it doesn't look like Mesk has really received a warning for this one either. He's going to go ahead and pick up the scribes. Go for an offensive move there. I like the stockade as well, just for good measure. There is a Didact available, but he doesn't really have that many units with which to recall. I see. He's decided to wall this off so he can build the Strident Stratum. This nuke is real bad news, but Mesk immediately sees where it is. The problem is, if he moved the Witness and some combat units over, he could have killed the Eidolon, but he didn't immediately have the reaction time. It only had 1 HP anyway, so that's going to shut down his mining a little bit. It's not too terrible in general, but it obviously is a little bit of a problem. And look, there's a Covenant assigned to this. That's funny. Some structures lifted over here just to get slapped, and there is a Sentinel on the way. Engram doesn't have as much range as the Sentinel, so that's not going to end super well for him. Mystery Meat has been on top of rebuilding the Morning Stars from his anvils. Uh-oh. Turbocharged Warden was able to start doing damage, and the Sentinel does indeed go down, but there is also a nuke targeted at that location, and... well, he does cancel the engram in time, so he did see that. Almost 14,000 minerals available to Mystery Meat. Got to be careful he doesn't play with his food too much, because Mesk is still harvesting resources. Maybe a little bit slowly, but he's doing it. And he does have the double didact move. There is no real active detection in this area. Another anvil over here, allowing him to do double nukes. I think this Eidolon is going to get caught out here. Not really a good safe spot to drop this, but the recall was channeled. However, the Watchdogs are still landing in quite a few shots here. And so I think both of these Didacts are probably going to be going down. It's a bit of a one-way trip, but it shuts down this base. It's just at the same time... oh, no, actually, that Eidolon did get caught off guard, so... maybe a little bit of a panic move. Caught off guard by Mystery Meat, and is able to trade, you know, one base for none at this point. Oh... he could just fly over with the Artisan and kill the Eidolon, but he doesn't trust himself. 2 hits from the Artisan, double tap it. There was a transport to bring down an Eidolon over here, so the nuke drop is happening. I'm not sure that Mesk will have the wherewithal to even think about that. So this isn't going to spread too far down to the worker line as far as the raw damage is concerned, but the radiation field will. And even though he just caught up to the worker count a little bit, right? He's got 100 workers, and he just gets cut down to immediately by, you know, 14, 15. Sentinels lifting off and moving down. The cannon cheese is cheeky, but I'm not sure it's accomplishing too much. And there is indeed a diadem. Nuke once again targeted at this silly outpost in the bottom left. Oh, look at that. The Artisan does claim the life of the Sentinel, but the Watchdog avenges the fallen turret brother. And that won't be enough to deal with the Strident Stratum, but... oh, in fact, the rally point there, saving the Artisan from taking damage from Irradiate. I don't think it would have been enough to kill him anyway, but... there are Apothecaries out. Silver Tongue's out. This is the first time we're really seeing that as well. And there are some captaincies to try to safeguard against some of these, you know, more interesting ideas that Mesk has. But, you know, having the captaincies here that can maybe help spam out a couple more of those minerals. He really wants to take the space. Look, he's prepared a couple of structures here. Still has this one stockade over in this direction. Very silly stuff. Some units chasing down Eidolons. What does Mesk want to do? He's mostly just antagonizing at this point. He's trying to build some engrams. Really just stop this one from happening too deeply. He should cancel that one if he notices it, but... oh, he's got an Artisan in this general area. He's going to start trying to warp in some structures, but the Diadem's automatically going to start handling that. Now there's an idea. The artisan, the flying worker, can start structures that the diadems want to shoot at. Oh! But if there's phalanxes in here, they can kill it before the projectile really hits. And oh, I spoke too soon on that one. Goliaths are here to clean that one up. So again, the cheek, it's not quite enough here, but diadems are doing their part. It's a funny move, right? Seeing what's possible. Creative uses of game mechanics. An interesting move. See, this is why you want Mesk to play the game. He finds out so many fun little things that you can do. Meanwhile, a single sentinel is spotting for the diadems. Remember, they do have cliff advantage over here. Not insignificant, but it becomes 38 range instead of 36. There you go. The diadem will finish the job. Diadems do have feet. They're still work in progress, but they are feet, and that's what's important. Looks like he's setting his nuke sights on the base in the bottom right again, but... Oh, there was a witness. Oh, got him. Mesk never even knew. So we have some madcaps alongside some dilettantes. Dilettantes aren't super good without some sort of armor pen, but you will see them do some hilarious amounts of... shoot off some hilarious numbers of rounds. The witnesses are indeed keeping track of some of these movements. And again, the Grand Libraries and the Atreus, there's Atreuses and Amaranths, and they're trying their best to give Mesk some hope. But right now, I'm not sure it's enough. Still guarding this top left base, but it's depleted, so... Coming down below 10k minerals, so starting to spend that money. He has brought a diadem out down on this bottom spot. I will finally clear that out, root that out once and for all. But there are quite a few Stargates and quite a few lattices. So it will be Auroras looking likely, as well as, I'm assuming, Vassals. It's an interesting idea, but I'm not sure that it'll help him out here. He's going to go ahead and go for the pylon bobbing techniques. Oh, spotting some madcaps, shuffling their way to victory. Double Didact play once again, looking to recall. There you go, sends his forces through. One Didact has already fallen, both of them in fact. And look at all of that, the Atreus is body blocking the Amaranth, so the Diadems acting somewhat reasonably as defensive options this time around. And at this point, the economic deficit, not too noticeable. Atreus is trying to close the distance, but Silver Tongues are sniping them off from quite a far distance away. Well, the anchor will burn down, but that's pretty much it. Some workers kills on depleted mineral fields at that point. The space still very slowly being whittled down. I don't think Mesk really has the economy for the kind of choices he's trying to make here. Certainly doesn't have the bank. Never took this base over here. It was taken by Mist, but he didn't actually do anything with it, as you can see. And the Madcaps and Dilettantes are going to start marching their way over here with the Silver Tongues, ready and waiting to outrange those engrams. Prepare your eardrums. The GG is called, but at least we got to see some Dilettantes.
Well, was it everything you hoped for?
It was pretty stupid.
I didn't stand a chance in that game.
I did like the base on the bottom left. But
Engrams take so long to build, I can never kill that ghost.
yeah. I am glad you picked Maim Street, at least. I'm glad we got to see that. Let me go ahead and update our scores here.
There was basically nothing I could do in that game at all.
I mean, the cheeky spot for your gateway was an interesting part of the opener. I'm having to remind myself of what happened earlier.
I was kind of hoping I could put his expansions behind, but he is too good of a player, and the fact he went Wraiths early fucked up everything I was trying to do. I mean, he knows he can basically do anything against me because I'm terrible, so... And then I was like, well, he might just go Cyprian Goliath like he went against Shambler. So I figured maybe Exemplar or Draken would be good. But then I saw his Cloaked Wraiths when I was moving the Exemplar over. And I was like, oh, this game's already over. Like, at that point, I had already lost.
The Wraiths were definitely keeping tabs on you, but...
I was too fortified for them to do anything against me for the most part.
They did
but
pick
I
off
couldn't
all
never
of
move
your
out
stuff.
either. He had
Yeah.
too many of them for me to move out. Once I had idols, I could fight the Wraiths, I think. But at that point, he already had too much economy, and I couldn't control the map anymore, so it was already over. My best bet at that point was to bait him into overcommitting to something. But then he went to nukes, and it was clear that he was just turtling up to tier 3. So basically, I had to really rely on him making some kind of really bad mistake that allowed me to take back some portions of his side of the map. It took the Didax so long to get over to his base. I knew that was not going to be viable to attack him. I was able to take out one base with that, but when I saw he had already had tier 3, I knew that the Didax weren't going to be able to accomplish too much. I was able to kill a lot of his workers with pylons, though.
Yes, I did appreciate that. I was saying in the cast, I was like, this is why you want Mesk to play your game. He will find creative uses of game mechanics. All right. Ready, check.
I was tempted to try to do hard cheese on him, but I actually thought I was going to be up against Shambler, which I might have had a better chance of cheesing.
Yes, yeah.
But against Mystery, I think he's too careful. I'm actually really surprised he didn't try to cheese me. I think he knew that the inverse was not going to work either. I was really careful about adjacent feet.
Adjacent feet.
Yeah.
Well, you both
RS.
had pretty good scouts. He was panically scouting around for your proxy.
Yeah, I saw he had like 2 workers looking around or something like that.
Maverick stimming around.
I mean, as long as I keep someone on the edge of their seat and it's not like a complete stomp, then that's, you'll learn eventually. So now we're back with these 2 again.
Of
I'm
course.
sure Shambler has taken that time to cool off his typing fingers. Maybe he'll do something different in this, as opposed to Skith Gorgor, but that kind of seems to be his accepted opening. So,
well, he did. Yeah, he went straight into Hydrock, and at this point, he's only harvesting with a single worker. Oh no, that's not true. He did decide to double satch it. So, okay, yeah, I think it's going to be yet another round of Hydrock opener. A little bit slow on the gas harvesting for it to be anything else, so we'll see how that one works out. But the scouts are pretty quick, and now the stockade is up for mystery meat. So it will be a Hydrock opener, and I think this could very easily become yet another accepted standard here. Now, Shambler took a victory on this in this matchup in the grand finals moments ago because of our silly scheduling. That's what had to happen. We're going to see what he wants to do now that he's on this patch. Is Mystery just warmed up? Is he in the zone? Is he maybe tired? You know, what's changed since that opening matchup?
I don't know. I think Mystery detoxed from that game.
Yeah.
He took a real slow. He wasn't trying to do anything zany. He knew I was going to go for a longer game, and I think that was probably relaxing for him. Although I feel like the recall might have given him a little bit of panic.
Yeah, at the same time as he was nuking your bottom right base, I thought it was going to be a trade when you recalled in the top left. But
I was able to hold it off with the power of love and friendship.
It did, yeah, the Eidolon did die before.
A lot of Eidolons died in the middle. Maim Street just killed them over and over. I think he had rallied them into my units or something. Every time I looked there was a new one that was dead. So
yeah,
there were some slip-ups on his behalf, but not many.
I still think that the highlight was definitely building pylons to bomb him with diadems, but he was actually confused. He was like, is it not considered an air unit? Like, why was it attacking?
Oh, yeah. When I realized that those were air units and I could kill the Sentinels with them, it completely changed.
Yes.
That bottom left, I was able to finally start denying.
I was wondering why you didn't kill the Eidolon with it, but you probably just forgot that.
I figured, oh, he has turrets over there. I didn't realize that the Sentinels wouldn't hit it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I absolutely would have done it. I did kill one Eidolon with probes anyway.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I saw that.
So well, it is Skits
again. It is, yeah, but he's already got one Cyprian and one Watchdog, so a second Cyprian just popped out as well. There's really no damage that this can do at this point. Maybe emotional damage, but even then.
Yeah, pretty much.
Now, again, this is something I mentioned, I think while you were AFK on the Repulsion match. Mystery Meat has shown that if you let him keep his worker alive, he will use it to build anchors or to do something cheeky. And even getting the information is pretty good, right? Now he's Stim the Maverick has arrived. Yeah, it's not going to be able to do too much there. Does kill a single worker.
He does trade.
That is more than I thought it would. I mean, it's not a huge deal, but that's still more than I thought it would. One Stim
smiles upon him.
Yeah. Now the Mason is going to be within...
The Maverick legacy is with him.
I think the Mason's going to be within vision range of that worker. But the question is, will it be spotted? And I don't think it will. Shambler's just not concerned about it. Not concerned about it.
So into Treasury. Very, very calm and comfortable at the moment. Not too worried about these skiths. I don't think skiths are really like, if they're already bottled up, I think you don't really need to build more skiths. I think it's time to transition out. I mean, he can pick some, but keeping in mind the skiths are very expensive.
They are 50 gas now, guys.
So you have to make them really deal damage to really pay their costs. And against Terran, it's particularly difficult. I like how he canceled that anyways.
He did decide to cancel it, and I don't know if that's because, oh, my opponent has scouted it, and I want to do something a little different, or is it because he thinks that there's actually better plays to have now that it's clear, confirmed Skithra Core. He's moving forward with some Cyprians, but I think they will be found out by the Skiths here, depending on the pathing. He's got an anchor in the bottom right, of course, so that's, again, you leave the scout alive, you live to smell the feet.
Now, I'm not sure why he is moving out with the 2 Cyprians. I feel like that might have been a mistake.
He wanted to garrison them in the anchor that he built down in the bottom right, but obviously it was a bit of a long shot that they would be able to make it down there with so many skiths patrolling.
I don't know. If I was Shambler, I'd be thinking about that. Yeah. Why was there just 2? Like, Mystery is not a person I don't think is going to easily make that mistake. Okay, he had some misplaced rallies for his ghosts in our game. He also owned like the entire map. Yeah. So it was, some units were going to get lost in that, and he had ghosts all over the map. So I kind of just understood that he had a fuck rally or something. This is very early into the match. Those are some of the only units he has. Why were 2 of them going down?
I don't know if Shambler's too interested in following that line of inquiry, but he does have more Skithra Cores and still going for Droleths after the fact.
No, he's pretty calmly expanding now. It's a little bit slower of a game. Maybe they kind of took stock of things after that silly TVP we just played. And Maybe at this point, Shambler's like, okay, I'm not going to bother all-inning with my skiths. I'm just going to use them for map control. It's probably the best he can hope with them. Looks like he is actually very possibly going to discover this anchor just sitting there suspiciously.
Yeah.
Nothing in it.
It's a little interesting. He's actually being pretty light on units, Mystery Meat. He doesn't have too many of them.
Yeah.
Neither does Shambler, that is, but, I mean, still early days, and he's got more in the tank there. Skithracore once again.
I think when you have, like, a period, like, our game was long and fairly calm, honestly, in spite of weird antics going on here and there. It lets people kind of, like, take back. Like, I think if you just had these two play back-to-back over and over again, you would probably start consistently seeing, you know, the same thing you've been seeing, cheese, early aggression, and stuff like that. But they both basically had a chance to kind of, like, take a breather from that and reassess what they want to do in this game. And I think Mystery and Shambler are ultimately going to follow the same kind of things, but we're not seeing the same kind of stuff Shambler was doing earlier into this and the other series where he's being super aggressive early on. He's being much more calm about this, and I think he stands a good chance of coming out better in this game as a result. We see the Fulcrums coming out. It's probably going to be Goliaths again. Goliath.
He's already got the
clerics out.
Yeah.
So it'll be pretty much the same exact thing. Meanwhile, Shambler has just been relentlessly spamming skiths, not even making the Zorkas that we would see him transfer into in this particular build.
Well, here's the thing. He does have the base in the middle, and that gives him access to a lot of gas as soon as he saturates it. But he's first going to start to confirm the presence of Fulcrums. He will be able to charge over and start picking off Cyprians, so Mystery Meat has to respect that just based on the sheer number of them.
Now, these Goliaths, as they come out... Okay, he did rally them, unlike me. I tend to get my rallies a little bit clusterfucked by that. As you probably saw, I trapped a number of things in that last game.
Yeah.
Like the one probe.
The scribe, though, is in the mid-left after building
I'm sure
a
he never saw that and had
no
no idea the perils that scribe was. I was going to build a wall of cannons there and then an engram to try to snipe him, but, well, that ended very quickly. And then you probably saw in the top middle when I had to
you blocked
my
your
own shit. That
well,
was initially just to scout it, but I didn't realize he was never going to go there. So it's like, I'm going to take the... Oh, no, I can't.
Yeah, slapped. Well, the Skithracore flock is moving around. They will intercept the treasury on the course to move to the middle there. That's actually a pretty good amount of damage. I think he can hang around here and finish it off if he's using his micro here. And so that will be good. He decided to not do the single extra volley there, which is a little unfortunate. Unforced error, I think.
He might have lost more than he would have gained. It's 200 minerals for a treasury. If he took 2 skiths and deaths from it, it wouldn't have been worth it.
Well, it is a minute long for a construction time, as opposed to the, very short amount of time that he's going to repair it with, so... That's sort of my thinking there.
Yeah, but it's still going to take some time to repair it, bring it back, and everything anyway, so... It's ultimately a sort of a null trade, but he stood to take a lot of damage from it. Oh, never mind.
Speaking of, going after the Cyprians, I mean, I don't hate the idea. The problem is there's way more Goliaths than that. So
I mean, at least he killed the Cyprians. I think we can all appreciate that as the Goliaths get all caught up in the pathing, unsure of what to do or where to go. There are some big men here. There's not really a lot of damage between these groups. It's just beef and little tickling damage.
Yes.
And Goliaths are very beefy.
Well, the Wraith is out in the bottom left doing a massacre, but also confirming the Iral Iris. So Tier 2 is actually hit before Mystery Meat even has a twinkle in his eye about an Atlas.
Yeah, I guess this is the results of him foregoing the Zorkas at this point, is to go to Tier 2, try to get some heavier firepower. Protathalors would be great.
Yeah.
Really, just there's a number of options you can go. Zorg options. This is friggin' Wraith is just back in his shit again.
He's going to go for this attack here. He's out of range of the circuits, but the Skithracore kind of draw a lot of the aggro from the Goliaths, and there aren't really that many clerics over here. So this is actually going to be a victory for the Zerg, despite the Wraith corpses
Meanwhile, the Wraith is on a massacre. There's 3, maybe 4 kills already, maybe more. Out there's another. And another.
Yep. Gorgorl Swamp is about 1/4 of the way done. That will be pretty big for Shambler once he gets it, but I don't think he'll be able to push this advantage, and he is losing a lot of his units as the feet fly in.
The Wraith is finally destroyed, but only after its rampage continues. Shambler chooses to move back in, destroying some feet.
He does manage to get one of them, and he's picking off a lot of the clerics, so that's going to be okay, but he doesn't really have much of a follow-up here. So despite the moral victory of hearing the lamentations of their women, you know, as Arnold Schwarzenegger once said, hey, that Goliath's got 7 HP if the Hydra decides to move on it. No, it doesn't. Not going to happen. I do like this Skittercore patrol in the mid-right, though. That's been giving him a lot of vision. He has another one in a similar spot in the mid-left.
There's a Maverick patrol there, too.
Yeah.
Going down to check to see if Shambler's taking that bottom right base yet. There's also a Skittercore in the top left that's going to prohibit any Mason coming over there, although I don't hear any music. Anyways.
He's just typing.
He's just typing. Yeah, okay, so yeah, he's just going to build the treasure in his base and lift it off. So the Skittercore probably won't do anything, but now we have Bactylisks, the ones who throw crooked corn dogs at people, or crooked penises, depending on which angle you view from. Very good for dealing with these clustered units because of their...
the ramp, Shambler, the tree. He's got him stuck.
They're stuck.
Oh, gee. I mean, if he burrows it and moves a worker down there, he can unburrow them both and they'll decollide. But I don't know. That might be too advanced for him.
There's 2 Bactylisks in there.
I think so, yeah.
There's one burrowed and one up.
Oh, there is. He can unburrow that one and decollide them, surely. No, the Wraith will start harassing
I hear the Wraith.
The Bactylisks, if they get free, they can kill the Wraith. Not going to happen.
The only thing that's going to get killed here is this Hatchross being destroyed by that Maverick.
Yeah, and the Skittercore just died to some 2 watchdogs that were being put up there, but at the same time, the Bactylisks are on the way, so...
A horde of Bactylisks.
He does have the Skittercores in the back line of his main that he can use to deal with that Wraith as well at some point.
I don't think this is nearly enough Bactylisks that he needs to destroy this, but depending on the positioning, he can surely do some damage.
Yeah, I mean, if he was going to hold fast here, I mean, the thing is the treasury is drawing a lot of fire, but...
He's going to stick some lobsters behind him so he can't retreat.
Yeah, this is real good heads-up play. This Bactylisk
got the treasury this time.
The treasury is going to be going ahead and going down. And focus firing on the individual Goliaths, getting good bounces as well. What Mystery wants to do is close the distance.
Clerics and kill them as well.
Yeah, he really wants to close the distance here, but I think he's going to slowly start to whittle them down and get them to the point where they can't really focus fire any one individual Goliath. But it's not going to be enough, actually.
Yeah, and they splash onto the clerics. That's why they're so good. Yeah. It's because even if they can't kill the Goliaths, they will eventually start killing the clerics.
And you can see, too, the fact that they regress back into a Hydra after they die because they were made not by a Caphilos, but straight from the larva is a pretty big deal as well. Yeah. Gives them a little bit of extra HP to deal with, and maybe Mystery Meat was not prepared for this. I think this might be the first time he's seen Bactylisk since the regression update.
Yeah. Yeah, for going to Zorka straight into Tier 2 was absolutely the right idea. He's got a lot of options available for this. With that last Goliath going down, there's so many Masons that are going to get tickled here, but he has to maybe focus on these Goliaths. Got one down.
Oh, he's starting to pick off the workers instead. Oh, there you go. He considers his options. Down. Yeah, at this point, I think there's really not much left here. I mean, he's down 20 workers or so. It's not a crazy amount. But it's floating 4K almost, so I think Mystery Meat, while he will clean this up.
Maybe I buck broke Mystery Meat, and now he doesn't know what to do anymore. He does have Tier 2, though, so...
Yeah, he's got Phalanxes on the way, which can definitely help shut down the assault. Because they're pretty reasonable against both the Bactylisks and the Hydralisks that they turn back into.
The Wraith strikes again.
Of course.
Oh, but this time there's defenses. Shambler was waiting for a secret Wraith.
And he should just patrol all of his Skittercores down to the bottom.
Yeah, well, you mean may as well. The Wraith is proving to be more dangerous.
Well, at this point, the front base is being focused down here, but the Phalanxes are up. We're going to start bruising them with...
When you start repairing these feet, the Bactylisks are just going to murder all the workers. And
the problem is
more valuable than killing the feet.
The Phalanx loses all its armor in siege mode, so the Bactylisks get way more effective against them in that mode. The GG's going to be called. The Bactylisk.
It's GG.
Yeah, Bactylisk takes
it. The early T2 timing worked out very well for Shambler in that game.
He was allowed to move into a period of time where it actually worked out quite well for him. You know, the fact that he was able to take the bases that early, go up to 3 fast bases, and just have a lot of map control in general.
All right, so am I picking this map now?
No, oh yes, yeah, because you're the challenger, so you will be selecting.
Okay, which maps do we have left? We just did Boskevine.
Just did Boskevine, so now we have Crossguard, Equilibrium, Infinite Velocity, Terminus, and Wellington.
Okay. I choose Infinite Velocity.
Of course you do. All right, I'll be back after the game to check in with you.
All right.
GG. And folks, we will be moving on to our next map in the group. It's good to see that Shambler is able to get on the board versus Mystery Meat in particular. But will he be able to survive Mesk's very non-standard, very cheesy nonsense? That's the next question. It's true, Fagudo. The Phalanx in its more durable tank mode would have been a perfect replacement, actually, for the Goliath. You build clerics with those bad boys, they're pretty much never going to take any damage from the Bactylisks. That would have, funnily enough, if you had some tanks in the front in tank mode and some in the back in siege mode, the Phalanxes would have been able to form a wall, shall we say. It's an interesting combo because you don't normally see tanks used in tank mode in Brood War, but in CMBW, there's a lot of legitimate reasons why you would want to use the one over the other. That's of course assuming you don't have some other kind of front line for them in Phalanx mode or in Siege mode, but either way, it's interesting. See if Mist is coming to spectate. Matador Erasure. I mean, think about it, too. Like, you could definitely be using Matadors. I don't know about against Bactylisks, but I'm surprised people haven't really been exploring the scrapyard too much. I just think people need more play. And we probably will go back to, like, once every other week instead of once every week, you know what I mean? But we'll see. I mean, when I say go back to, we've never done this before. But we might go to a schedule of that sort of nature. And that could be pretty good. Could be pretty useful. Okay, Mystery Meat is not joining the spectate, so I will do a ready check.
That's 3!
Oh, that's 3. Dude, we just got Kofi'd by Hoop. Thank you, dude. You, actually. Appreciate you, actually. Infinite Velocity was selected by IskatuMesk. He will be going up against the Shambler. Arrowlight Yellow Zerg versus Maroon Protoss. Is that the color of his blood? Or the color of his opponent's blood? Well, Protoss don't have red blood, so I guess that answers your question. Surely this is something where he's planning on... Wow, it takes me a long time to pan across the map. Surely Mesk is planning something for this map. You can say that's not 3 because it's not a third U, but it is 3, so checkmate, atheists. Meanwhile, tickling the future station, just helping it burn down a little bit more. And there's the gateway. Pretty good spot for holding a push through that as well. You can put like a zealot here and then a zealot here, and then you're good to go if that's something that Shambler's going to go for. But he's gone for a Hydrock. He's more interested in that than perhaps going for a Quasrock, which would maybe be more useful in this context. Ah, he found him. He's going to start tickling stuff. It's not really going to matter. But the sass is important. And it's actually notable here that Mesk has not been too interested in scouting. He's not moved over here to the right. He's not interested. Well, the Draconin will indeed be able to, hey, check that out. You like that? I think Mesk likes that. It's actually not that consequential in this case, but that's a neat little trick. Now, can the Draconin do much versus the Skither Core? Obviously, it can beat it one-on-one, but let's start to tickle it. And yes, Shambler will be quite surprised to see that. Or maybe not. It is Mesk after all. 2 Hydras on the way. That's the reaction. He can just hang back and play a little safe, but a Warden is already on the way because he knows that there's going to be Skither Cores. Another Draconin in the production queue. He's interrupting some mining time. It's not the end of the world here, but obviously at this point, Mesk is having a little bit of a pickle, actually focus firing some of those units, and I think he just got hung up by some sort of pathing or another. I'll have to take a look at the tile flags on this because I do feel like it's a little... It's very regular that this ends up screwing up pathing. So the Nidus will indeed just get regressed. I like that he stopped to take stock of that, like, what? And then he went ahead and finished it off. Automaton Register. Looking for idols to deal with the stacked threat of air, the longer the game goes on. No expansion from either player. Shambler floating a little bit of money, but presumably he's going to actually take an expansion with that, so it makes sense. Banking ever so slightly a little bit amount of gas. The Warden and the Draconins make this really unlikely that Shambler's going to be able to do too much immediately. By the way, in the future, we do intend for neutral Niduses to not regress into Kagrins, so that will resolve the weirdness of one of them turning into a Kagrin and the other one not. Obviously, when you build the Kagrin yourself and then mutate it into a Nidus and then use that Nidus to make an exit, it makes more intuitive sense that the exit would be the one that gets destroyed. And the one that was a Nidus that made the exit is what regresses into a Kagrin. But when it's neutral, that doesn't really apply. So, a little bit of silly special handling, but I think it makes enough sense. So the Draconins are going to just sort of spin out around the general area. There is an idol, and there's another pylon. Oh no, it's actually a Warden barely fitting over there. Isn't that interesting? Skither Cores yet again moving on around. Keeping some tabs on what's going on with the base. They can't really do any damage. It's all superficial. That'll just get cleansed by the shields. And he even gets baited in by the presence of a single Draconin, not thinking, oh, there might be more units over there. The army rotation was indeed live. So, Mesk is interested in attacking, living up to the Force name. But there are, of course, 4 Skither Cores. I don't know if it's on an intercept course. I think maybe the idol is going to pocket them. Yeah, at this point, I think they will indeed be taking some damage. And that is going to be not expected by the Shambler. He's already lost one of them. He stands to lose another. And meanwhile, a couple of more just got sort of asynced out of the group. And yeah, no real damage taken, all superficial stuff. This Droleth's still in the corner over here. Not really contributing too much to the war effort, but an expansion on the way for Mesk as he continues to apply some pressure. And this is good. You would want Mesk to sort of expand behind his push here because the Skither Cores do mean that you can get harassed from many different angles. But if the Skither Cores themselves have to stay home because you have a pretty powerful gateway army, then that can be pretty devastating itself. There's really not that much money for the Shambler, as a matter of fact. He's building Hydras back in the back line, but he's allowed Mesk to get in on this position, and now the Kagrin is going to just get nuked immediately before he can even cancel it. So that's a dead worker for all intents and purposes, plus minus 75 minerals, or 50 rather. However, the pathing here is not too good for Mesk, not crazy amounts of micro. The idol now focusing on the air units, and not great single target either. Sort of spreading their damage around quite a bit here, and the idol will be able to pick off both Skither Cores with one last dying breath before dying itself. Could have done a little bit more damage, I guess, to the Skither Core. That might have been his thought process there because, you know, the weaker that is, like, you can't burrow an air unit, so it can't regenerate as fast. And Just in general, that might be something very, very minor. But, you know, thinning the herd of when it comes to the actual units is not a bad move by any means. It's just he was probably looking to do some economic damage there. And besides killing the one worker that turned into a Kagrin, it really wasn't too much there. So, yeah, true. That worker is just going to scout out that, I guess, confirming that the same army is there. So it doesn't really see anything different. But sometimes seeing the same thing is information enough. That single wounded Skittercore is once again moving across the map, and we only see Droleths here. So maybe banking on the fact that this map is really large, and that's what Shambler is hoping is going to dissuade Mesk from attacking again, but we see over here that he is going to attack again. It's not going to be enough to crack through this number of Hydras, but I mean, I say that, and actually there's only 6 of them. So 2 Drakodons and 3 Idols can definitely stand toe-to-toe with that number of Hydras, maybe even alongside the Skittercores. He's going to confirm the site of a Nexus, but not that many workers. In fact, Shambler is now ahead in workers, which is something that Mesk will seek to rectify relatively soon. Does have more Skittercores on the way, but if he sends them across, which it looks like he's planning on doing, this could be deadly timing here for Mesk. Meanwhile, Shambler is trying to get rid of yet another Nidus, so just making sure that there's nothing too crazy here. And yeah, at this point, the Skittercores hatch, but the Hydras are going to start taking some general splash shots here. The Idols are going to be very deadly in that context. The Draconon goes down first, and yeah, the Skittercores are pulling the Idol focuses away. They're a little bit less durable than they used to be, and again, no single target fire coming out whatsoever from Mesk, so he stands to lose all of his Idols and all of his Draconons, especially if they continue to give chase. Now, some of these Hydras are very wounded, so Shambler has to be a little bit careful. The unit counts are still pretty low, but it looks like he's going to come out on top here, and realistically speaking, the Idol should have been tasked onto the Hydras to spread the damage. It didn't end up happening. A single Scribe is on the way. It could set up a pylon and maybe some proxy stuff over here. Try to close the distance a little bit, but there will be a positron, curiously enough. He has the gas for an analog, but he knows that that's not exactly what he needs. So, a Warden on this cliff with a Draconon taking pot shots means that I don't think Mesk can really, or Shambler rather, can really do too much with the Hydras. He does have a decided worker advantage, and is going to be looking to expand again with the excess minerals that he's got. Double gas or double geyser in the main does mean that he could theoretically go for a tech rush, but it's not going to happen just yet. And yeah, more gateways. Just one more gateway, I should say. Well, this is a decent number of Skittercores, and there's only one Warden and one... there's only one Warden and one Dracodon in the area, so... While a couple more will fall, it's actually picked just enough time for an Idol and 2 Dracodons to show up here, so... I'm not sure how many workers will actually end up dying to this, and the Positrons are even making sure that they can't escape the way that they came in, so... Can repower that relatively easily. Look at that. Get some nice little splash there, and that was definitely not a unit that you could... stack up on top of, so a little bit awkward there. More Positrons on the way. Not a bad unit in general for fighting Zerg, but usually they're a little bit more favored when there's more melee. Or at the very least, smaller units that are easier to kill with enough splash damage. But they're kind of like good all-rounder units. They're, you know, in many ways considered the successor to the Manifold, a higher tier version of that. And with Dracodons also there's going to be plenty of range. Maybe not too many units like a Golem or something that can occupy the attention of the Hydras. And the Iziracores will need to be reposted, so that's another thing to be somewhat cognizant of. Mesk can take this bottom middle base. Shambler's eking out quite an economic advantage at this point. Something else to be concerned about. Prostration stage. So Mesk is pretty fond of pariahs, and I think that's probably the move that he's going to be making here. Go for the pariah, and use that to occupy a lot of the attention of the Hydra. There's still no tier 2 structure out of Shambler, although he is pretty close to being able to afford it. 400 minerals, 450 minerals, and 900 gas right now. Some pot shots being taken here. The Positron's in a good spot to dish out some pretty good damage versus the Hydras. Zero is kind of getting split here, and some of them even interrupting the path of the re-engage from the Hydras. So not a single unit goes down for Mesk. So very, very efficient trading, afforded by none other than flash shielding itself. There are some Wardens happening over here, and the Crucible is also just about done. But the Wardens themselves are not going to finish in time, and I think, yeah, he's going to see this and send some units that way. Scribe will be the first one to fall. This will provoke Mesk to leave with some of his own forces and clean up some of these Hydras that are sort of just left here unattended. So one of them already going down, one of them also dangerously close to death. And the first Warden, which is going to finish relatively soon, is going to be the first one to be targeted down and fall as well. Another Scribe off to the mid-right there, but this Warden is going to finish, but it's not going to be too terribly effective. It does have an enhanced attack rate because of the Crucible, so it'll pick off a single Skithricore. And I'm not so sure it was that useful otherwise. And the Crucible itself is about to fall, which is a fairly reasonable gas investment to lose at this point. However, at the same time, there are more Hydras flanking around this position, and I think Mesk might have overstepped the boundaries here. He does have an analog. He's going to try to body block here, but with no support, it's not going to work out too much. And there's also not really any incidental shots able to be reflected anyway, right? That's more of an anti-splash or, you know, specifically anti-diadem move where, you know, you're expecting to take incidental damage. 150 gas to lose for that is no laughing matter. Could have been invested into more Positrons, more Drakodons, indeed more Pariahs, one of which has already been deployed and another which is on the way, while a second prostration stage makes its presence known. Only a Warden over here for the cliff, though, so Shambler absolutely can do some damage here, but Drakodons did just spawn, so should be a little bit safer than he expects, and the Pariah is going to get great damage dealt. Increasing the attack rate of nearby allies by avenging the corpses of the victims of the Pariah. That's a feature that you might not see every day. Golem's out as well. So there's going to be some front line there. Meanwhile, Iral Iris is complete, and the Gorgor Swamp has started. A Quasrock pool to join the armies. We might be seeing Nathracors into Calculisks once that turns into a Leavral Pond. Obviously, that's a fairly steep gas cost. We might also see some capping, but not yet. Well, Mesk can secure a third base here if that's what he wants to do next. He is capping his gases with aquifers, at least the ones in his main. So he will have a decent amount of gas income in just a moment here. His embassy is finished, so he will be going for a witness almost certainly relatively soon. But his economy, it's not as good as it could be. And I do like the Wardens over here to tickle the Hatcherosk, but of course some Hydras are on the way to clean that up, so those will have to get canceled at some point. Just pretend they once owned a Twitter account, and for sure they will be canceled. Am I right? Of course I am. Unfortunately, there are no shoes, Luciferius, but the Ardent Authority does train them, so it is possible that we will see them later on. Pariah's going to go ahead and charge in and take a lot of damage in the process from those Hydras, so not in the best of spots in that context, but will stay alive ever so slightly. And again, the attack rate being steroided up even more. Not bad there. Keeping the Pariah alive, I mean, it's very, very vulnerable at this point. It's going to go ahead and queue up some more. And look at this. It's going to be a Scribe drop to the top middle, try to secure those bases. And the other thing that he could do with the Envoys is start unloading Pariahs in the worker lines, right? They're very beefy, despite what you may have seen from all the Hydra shots. And I feel like that would be... We already saw in the Grand Finals, no less, the Shambler did end up getting, you know, slapped around just by the presence of harassment. So it's very much something that Mesk could use to his advantage. Like, he's definitely still in the game despite being behind economically. The worker count is starting to stretch out of control here, but at the same time, Protoss units are individually more strong, and Mesk does have a third base up and running. Zerg usually up a base, but not usually up in workers this much. This is a context of where you don't really feel like maybe you pressured them enough when you check the replay and you see something like this. Bactylisks are starting to get slapped around a little bit, but where there's some, there's more. And so they will be trying to siege the ramp here. The Pariah is going to get shredded quite fast. and the positrons are not going to be far behind. So he's able to maybe distract them a little bit, just bide some more time as they continue to tickle him. You can see the Skither Core revealing, I think, that pylon. It was being checked by the camera position of Shambler. More pariahs. More on the way. At this point, with the Bactylisks, Mesk needs to either harass and use that opportunity to stop his opponent from really attaining some sort of critical mass and keeping all of his units in one spot, or he needs to build up a different kind of army that can take on the Bactylisks head on. And that can look like a lot of pariahs. They do have 4 armor, after all. But at the same time, you probably want a little bit of something to deal with the Hydras and other such units. Each one of these shots is 2 times 7 damage, which means they're actually only dealing 3 damage to the pariah, but it's obviously 2 times 3, so it's actually 6. And the analog can even reflect some of those shots back based on the bounce, but we're not seeing a Strident Stratum for the Clarions just yet, so... Oh, well, I spoke too soon. There is one. I have a feeling it'll not be for Clarions, but you never know. Maybe Mesk remembers that. Scribe will confirm the position of the Bactylisks. And while Luciferius prays for shoes, and I'm sure Fagudo prays for Clarions, we will be seeing the heads-up play coming out of Mesk as he tries to close the gap there. And yes, you do see just how effective the armor is being as they close in on that back one. There's decent armor pen on a Hydra by comparison, so they're dealing a little bit more damage, but not going to be enough to kill any of the pariahs. And you can see what happens in the context where suddenly you just don't have any units. The Zethar cores are out, and they can be turned to Vorva cores if that's the play that Shambler himself wants to make. Obviously, by themselves, are not super great against something like a pariah. So this hit squad is going to be moving its way over to this base and shutting it down before it can really get started here. Not very many workers here, but losing the tempo and losing the base are going to be pretty significant. We'll see if Shambler can hold. Just a couple of Bactylisks over here. He's even pulling some of the workers down, too. Pretty funny. The analogs here mostly, it seems, as detection and moral support, but again, will depend on the compositions that are available. In fact, the circuits are now dealing damage to themselves. The Hydralisks have finally been taken out, and a Drolath almost killed a pariah. It's definitely not something I thought I'd be saying. Now, the pariahs do move themselves around so that they can deal with these frontliners. And they can also attack air units, so you can see them eating through the Skither cores as well. These are big, chonky units that I don't think Shambler was exactly ready to deal with. But at the same time, he has eventually cleared them. It just cost him a lot of his military. An Nexus is once again being put up there, as well as in this position. So, Mesk does stand to eventually take more bases, but obviously Shambler has already taken this, so he himself is on 5 bases. Mesk trying to expand as many locations as possible. He's kept all of his minerals suddenly low when he was floating a decent amount earlier. And some Wardens are going to go ahead and safeguard this base from Skither cores, but then they get canceled for some reason. Must have had a Twitter account. Okay. We will be seeing Kaphralasks. This means that Bactylisks can be trained without Hydras. But again, pariahs do not take nearly as much damage from Bactyls as they do from Hydras. So if the spam continues, and Mesk recognizes that, the fact of the matter is, the pariahs themselves are going to chew through these Bactylisks, and there's really no armor pen if they don't regress, which of course they will not. So he's going to go ahead and abandon that bottom middle base. It'll maintain vision. Skither cores reporting what they see back to the hive mind. Nobody's taken that gas-rich bases in the back line yet, which is quite surprising. And again, Shambler is ahead in workers by a considerable margin at this point, with the minerals in the mains and the naturals being depleted, and the ones in these positions not that farther behind. Witness confirming certain things here. We see a Tethzoricor, we see the Quasric Pole turning into a Leveril Pond, we see Hatterosks turning into Kaffrelosks, as Shambler's plan becomes clear. Meanwhile, Pariahs are dealing with this base in particular. Really, not that many defenses whatsoever, so this will be, obviously, with the analog here as well, this will be detected. Well, Tethzoricor trying his hardest to get close in. And meanwhile, the Pariahs are just going to chew through these Bactylisks, which do seem to be able to regress, because these were the last couple that before everything got turned into a Kaffrelossk, it looks like. But a lot of worker kills, but meanwhile, on the other side of the map, a Clarion has been assembled, but there's no analog anywhere. Aw, dear. Well, the Pariahs are here, but this is a very large number of Bactylisks, and it doesn't really look like the attack move worked out for him there. Maybe he fat-fingered and targeted a specific one, or something like that. Yeah, I'm not so sure he's got much of an ace in the hole. The only presence he has on the other side of the map is a Witness. And those can't attack. I would know. I am one. You can hear the steady slapping. And the positron just got tickled to death by the Bactylisks themselves, so that's pretty funny. Oh, dear. The GG is called. And Mesk, he had a chance in that game. We'll talk to him about it right about now. Hi.
Hi.
So that one, I thought for sure you would have a chance if you decided to drop some Pariahs in his base.
I kind of wanted to do that, but he had too much map presence for me to risk putting too much on it. But and they don't kill structures very quick.
Well, one thing that I did notice for sure is that he was making a pretty big mistake by going into Kaffrelosks, where at that stage in the game, you had a lot of Pariahs out. And if you had kept it going with that, what would have happened is they don't do any damage. Like, he was making Bactylisks out of them, right? But then they don't regress into Hydras, so your units never would have gotten any damage done. But you didn't really have a critical mass for them. And then when you did get a Clarion out, you didn't have the analog to go with it, so...
Yeah, I was short on gas. My macro was too bad. It's just another... that one was a straight-up macro loss. I had money and I couldn't spend it because I was stupid. If I had been able to spend the money I had into extra Pariahs, I might have been able to stop him from reaching a critical mass. But I really wanted to get Clarions and analogs together, but the mineral cost was holding me back in some cases, and then the gas cost was holding me back in others. And he knows enough of my backdoor shit that I wasn't able to do too much until I repelled his one attack. But then I forgot to actually do anything with those bases, so I'm stupid.
Well, it's all right. I mean, it was
Mystery
definitely...
didn't even bother observing because he already knew that I was going to lose.
I don't know. He might have been watching on stream instead. I'm not 100% sure, but he might also be like, I played enough games today, so we'll find out. All right, Shambler wants to...
You already knew the outcome of the match. You went off to go drink.
Equilibrium was chosen by Mystery Meat, so he must have something in mind here.
I was able to stop the skiffs from doing too much, though, so that was nice.
Well, what also is nice is that... What are we? We are 4 games into this group, so we probably are past the halfway point. And I will also take a minute to get water, so I'll be right back.
I had better luck with positrons in that game than I did against Terran. Positrons basically don't do anything against Goliath Cleric at all. I thought, oh, they'll do AoE at a range. Surely they'll help kill the clerics and whittle down everything. But it turns out they don't do anywhere near enough damage to actually hurt Goliaths at all, so that's not a good choice against Terran. But Pariahs can do okay against Terran. Maybe not really against Mass Goliaths. They have like mixed results against Madrigals. If you can get up to them, it's great, but they get stuck on stuff really easily. You have to constantly be adjusting your attack parties. Like in that game, I had to constantly be changing what they were attacking because they would get latched onto things. That was actually my first time ever building Clarions. I wanted to have a mass, but yeah, wasn't going to happen. The shoe facility costs a lot of gas. So if we want to be able to spam positrons, you have to really invest heavily into that because it's like 200 gas or something like that.
I am back. I heard you saying that positrons don't do much damage to Goliath Cleric.
Yeah, I tried to use them against Nablime, and it had basically no effect at all. Like, by the time you get to them, you've invested such an insane amount of gas that they already have a critical mass of Goliaths and everything. And then, yeah, they just don't do enough damage against that composition to really even slow them down. More effective against Zerg, though. I definitely felt they were more effective in that game. It was a little harder with the wider ramps. I needed him to kind of get funneled up, which the Bactylisks are really fat, so they weren't going to bundle out really quite as much as I wanted.
That is the Ardent Authority. It's a very strange, abstract-looking structure. So,
otherwise, Positron Pariah seems to be reasonably effective against Zerg. The Positrons were able to kill the Skiths pretty easily.
Hi.
Kind of felt like maybe if I was able to shut down both of those bases, I could have put Shambler on the back foot. I honestly thought he was teching the tier 3 because he was taking so long to attack me. But
no, instead he was dropping like 8 Kafralosks in his main.
Yeah. I knew he was doing something stupid, but I thought it was tier 3. I was expecting like a huge wave of Ilgora cores and like tier 3 stuff to just suddenly show up out of nowhere because he was being unusually passive, which meant he was probably teching. But I thought, well, I was able to slow down one expansion, and the other one I spotted with the Witness. I was actually hoping to spot because I thought he was going to send air units or something again, so I had that Witness there to kind of like catch everything that might go in there. And I was spotting the creep, and I was like, oh, he's probably got an expansion there. So while he's attacking that bottom, the bottom was like diversion. I was hoping I could take it, but I knew that he would scout that because I always take that against him, and it's bit him in the ass so many times before.
Right.
That he's probably going to call that, but if it had gone up, it probably would have done pretty well. I think that the Crucible with engrams could probably kill the Bactylisks. But there's not, like, the engrams are really fat. So I couldn't really put them anywhere I really wanted them to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, the Crucible costing a pylon to make it's kind of awkward because you have to kind of like stick the pylon somewhere where it's not going to mess around with all your construction and your pathing on top of it. And then the Crucible is kind of not Nexus size, but still kind of fat. And then you need to also keep in mind you want to surround it in defenses. So you need space for the defenses too. Which means they're probably going to have like another 2 or 3 pylons. So it takes a really, really long time to build cannons.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's not like Terran where you can panic build Sentinels and Watchdogs. You can't do that with cannons. They take a really long time.
We are getting started with Equilibrium here. There will be a Terran versus Zerg mystery meet challenging Shambler after losing the previous matchup that they two played together. And you got a taste of PvZ as a result, Mesk. So welcome to our 5th match of the group. And we are on Equilibrium. I think that when Shambler played this map previously, yes, he was in the same position that he is right now in the top right. And he was facing off against, was it the Beaver? Can't remember. I think so, yeah. It was the Beaver on the, there was a whole, like, committal with the Beaver building a stockade above his geysers and stuff, all this silly stuff. So.
Well, it's very silly. Sometimes silly things work.
It's true. Sometimes they do. And you know what? Besides the unexplained desync that happened on Wellington, we actually haven't had any network-related issues, and that's pretty good. That feels
Isn't
pretty good.
Wellington has been prone to desyncs? Every time I think, like, when I think about desyncs in 1v1, I'm brought back to, like, the games you had against Shambler where it randomly desynced too.
Well, that was the
also on
replay.
Wellington.
That was the replay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if that.
But that was on. That was also. I couldn't imagine why.
Yeah.
But it's just this funny coincidence.
Yeah.
Very strange. Replay desyncs seem to be less common now, thankfully.
Yeah. The only time I actually saw that was 1DA's internet. He has like better than Canada internet for that somehow. So.
Yeah. I don't know how. Checking around for anything. Head no feet lifting off yet. I'm sure eventually it will come.
I'm still waiting for the day that I actually see a stimmed Maverick get repaired by a Mason or something. Still waiting.
I've repaired some infantry. I try to avoid them because clicking on them can be kind of hard. But now with CNC draw, I feel like I'm a little bit more in control. I'm certainly nowhere near where I used to be with micro, but you can see that sometimes I can reposition my units a lot better than I used to be able to. And there's still awkward moments where I'm trying to micro mid and I kind of like lose track of where things are. Like I blocked off a drag hit in with the idol. Not that really made a difference in that fight, but it still sometimes I do that. But the individual control feels better now. But it's still like to try to repair a Maverick while it's stimmed oftentimes seems like more APM in trouble than it's really worth. Maybe like really early into the game, you might really want to commit to that where there's something really tight going on. Shambler really, really likes skits. He's gone skits in every single one of these matchups now at this point.
I'm not sure what he intends to accomplish with them, but I suppose at the very least a couple of them force out watchdogs and make your opponent have to start specializing.
It's map control, really. Like, I guess he probably feels that quads really isn't that useful. And he had some success with quads against the pariahs of all things. The Vorvikars and everything help tank them. Maybe not so useful against Terran at this stage. I'm not sure. I haven't even played Zerg at all since forever ago.
Yeah, the econ update, right?
The map control is definitely nice to have. Like being able to scout is nice. They can do some damage. Maybe not good against Cyprians even as they are, or Goliaths. But they did help with damage because they do have 2 armor pins, so it's not terrible. And they are a little durable. So, I don't know. They're kind of just basically like flying Hydras with a shorter range. So I think it's really more like mobility and map control. He doesn't have to have Hydras running around the map or whatever. And if they get caught out, they're going to die. Versus the Skeths where they might die, and sometimes they do. But at least, in a lot of cases, you can just kind of just like fly away.
It seems like it's a little awkward for dropping so much gas on them, and
it is,
when they don't really tend to have much effect on the game.
I mean, if you really don't want to be attacked early on, they're great because they can stop any really early aggression, like beyond like trying to land anchors inside of Shambler's base, which I don't think is really going to be quite as viable in this map. I think you probably could still do it, but I don't know. Mystery is not really going for it at this point. He doesn't really want to be marching Cyprians across the map. That would give the Skiths a lot of time to do something about it. So this Maverick is actually building Watchdog. Some of the other ones are actually being blocked by the treasury there if he wanted to actually attack them. But he escapes without losing anything, so that helps. I don't know. The Skiths are more like just about map presence, I think, and having... just like control the map. And it makes you feel more secure anyways when you've got things flying all over the place. You know what's going on all over.
I can definitely see that, and I still feel like they're appropriately priced. But if he was going to invest the same amount of resources into something like a Hydra or maybe an expansion where he has all this floating money, you'd think maybe that might help him out a little bit. But he does eventually break out the Hydras later on in the matchup. Vestry.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Stockades.
I think it's feel like, just exploring different things.
Yes,
like if I was to play a Zerg at this point, I would consider doing something similar. I never really felt too comfortable about Skeths, but I think I would try to take like before when I played a Zerg, it always felt bad to spend your gas because you so desperately wanted that tier 2. And in this matchup, I think that that's still very much the case in which the skiths are going to kind of really delay you. So I'm not really sure, like, you have to make a measurement based on what they're going to do. Like, I feel like in this current meta, at least with the players we've got, where they're always going stockade, is it really worth it to take the skiths when they're really going to do only minimal damage? I don't really think so. But if you can keep them alive and then use them like Shambler did in his last match with Mystery, where he was able to use them to pair up with the ground units to then kill the Goliaths, then they can most certainly pay for their cost later on in the game. But a lot of that win was mostly attributed to tier 2. So if your goal is to get to tier 2 as soon as possible, each skith is going to set you back quite substantially on that. But I think at this current point, most of Zerg feel like they need to spend gas to be able to fight Goliaths or Cyprians at all, really. Just because that's where most of your damage is going to be locked behind.
Well, Skither cores do block the Cyprian penetration, so if you are up against Bio, I think it makes sense to have a couple of them. But it's just also a little bit strange to me that the Cyprians, in this case we are getting mass Cyprian with some clerics. In the case of the Goliaths, I mean, it feels like they don't do much at all, so... Interesting that Shambler has been so consistent about it. There is a Cloaked Wraith going to scout out the top right area here to confirm the spot.
Yeah, they're definitely not very useful against Goliaths. Now, what skiths turn into Vithrilists, right? So their morph is not really too useful. Oh, so Revenge of the Death Wraith, and the men are stuck.
Oh, Zerg.
They somehow managed to get pinned between 3 buildings. And we're just spinning out. It's happening again. Another bites the dust.
He's nagging the gas mining specifically, so that does get resaturated, but some players are not so good at that. You know, keeping track of what's been resaturated versus...
Yeah, I'm generally not so good at that either, but I haven't really... It really surprised me that Meat didn't do that in our game. That he really wasn't looking to try to tickle. I think I just had too much lockdown.
You had way too many
wardens,
wardens,
the Wraith.
yeah.
I just really didn't want to deal with that shit, especially when I saw he had like 10 or more of them.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, he really is spamming Wraiths and Ant Seals, so it's just better just to not let him hit the economy and turtle up, because I'm probably going to need it eventually anyways. And it did eventually help out, but it still was like he devoted to massing Wraiths before he devoted to harassment. So I think that was very much like a tech decision thing, where maybe he sees, oh, you're observing all these games and seeing me go this specific build or type of build every single time, so I'll do Wraiths all this time. So,
speaking of, I mean, Iris is on the way in the top right, but Atlas is on the way in the bottom left. Iris will beat it narrowly, but this base in the mid right here is definitely done for.
It's a big old spam. Shambler doesn't really have too much to deal at this moment. He might have been expecting Goliaths again, and for this to be a little delayed as a result.
Yeah, he might have thought that he had time to mash up that, yeah. He will be losing that base for sure. Some Wraiths also going to try to park themselves in attack range of some of the workers.
Now, the Azira cores are quite good against infantry.
They don't have 2 armor, is the problem.
Yeah, they don't have armor, though, yeah. But their damage spread can help.
Yeah.
They're not quite as good as they used to be, where they would just absolutely massacre infantry. But... Oh, he's getting caught out here.
I think maybe they'll massacre infantry if there's no response, yeah.
Yeah.
that definitely puts them at a disadvantage.
The Droleths just calmly walk by. Oh, now they're coming. The Droleths are mad.
There's just so much HP for the Azira cores that it takes a while for them to actually get burst down, but... As you can see
eventually kill them in spite of that.
Yes.
The ambush, wow.
It's mostly because of the clerics sealing those last couple, and there was really no focus fire.
Yeah,
so.
The skiths were dead at that point, so most of his damage was dealt with.
Shambler can almost afford a Gorgel Swamp, but at this point he's more interested in crossing the map, and Meat has put
I think
up the
going
base.
Straight to Bactylisks is the best choice right now. There's no Goliaths. Bactylisks absolutely destroy infantry. Just massacre.
Well, he
Fighting
might
this
want to
is
just
such a
do it with
disadvantage.
Iziracors instead. I mean, he's trying to split up his Skithracors for the last remaining Cyprians here. And there's a lot of split damage coming out of the Iziracors, but there's clerics are still there, and they will take reduced damage in that sense, just because they keep healing on. There's no armor pen versus armor differential between the Iziracor and the cleric, but like they're both one. But it's still enough.
Okay, Zorakiz is coming.
Okay, he's gonna go that route instead.
Not
of
going to
Gorgon.
morph the Hydrock though. He's
Yeah.
also not bothering to try to take that extra base at the moment. He's getting to be really gas starved at this point.
Sentinels coming out as well as Watchdogs to cover that third base. Very important here, and Meat will continue the he'll continue the move.
Shambler calling for a pause. I believe that he does have interruptions IRL just like I do. He's red T.
He's T.
Now,
Phalanxes out of 3 fulcrums with palladiums attached, of course.
it's not a good situation for Shambler to be in. Zircor is not going to do too much damage to tank mode phalanxes.
We had a discussion about that in the Boskevine match that Shambler was also able to take versus Mystery Meat. Seems like his lucky map. And in that match, you know, something that was pointed out by Fagudo in the chat was the phalanxes in tank mode have 4 armor.
Yep.
Just like the Pariah, that means that you're dealing 6 damage per volley because you deal 2 times.
Yeah, they're really great in tank mode.
Yeah.
They're very good. It's hit scan damage. They have 4 armor. Against tier 1, they're really strong, and even against like madrigals.
Yeah.
When the madrigal is set to the spread attack, you can negate a huge chunk of that by having tank mode. And it's going to be a little more responsive to just run up and shoot them than it is to try to siege and then shoot them.
Yes. Especially since as soon as you start the siege, you lose all your armor. It's not like it waits, so...
That was an interaction I was having with Nablime in our first match. It was a TVT, and there was a lot of phalanx and madrigal back and forth. And that's when I was noting, hey, the tanks have a lot of armor in tank mode, and this is super useful against the madrigals in particular and some of the infantry. Unfortunately, I was too far behind at the moment to really exploit that, but I was able to get some mileage out of it, and it was actually really surprising, that interaction.
Yeah, it gives you a little bit of something else to focus on when you're using phalanxes, and I think, you know, it helps also. We talked about DF's new model for it and all that, and it's a nice little little thing there. But meanwhile, there's going to be a charge.
This is going to be a
on.
train wreck.
Yeah. Phalanx is locking down a 4th base that's being set up with watchdogs galore, some sentinels as well to try to keep it safe from flanks.
There is a wraith there. It is waiting. The Spraith colony deterring it for now, but only so long until its bloodlust takes over. There's Mavericks on every single unoccupied expansion on the map.
Yep.
I think that Mystery is going to have to make a pretty severe mistake to lose this one, to be honest with you.
Yeah, he just has so much tempo at this point, and he can start to really exploit some of these bases. He's not capping any of the geysers, but he's got 4 bases to Shambler's 2 after knocking out that base on the mid-right with all the infantry. And yeah, there's a couple of sentinels here, you know, but that's with more of them coming online and the predominantly melee attack force coming in here. It's going to be a little bit difficult for the, you know, Tetzoracors and the Iziracors to clear this out.
He's only got a handful of Bactylisks, so not nearly enough as he needs to mow through the massive amount of infantry that exists. And not even enough to really finish off the bulk of those defenses.
Some of the Sentinels might burn down depending on Mist's attentiveness, and I think indeed they will. The Bactylisk's also chewing through some of the, you know,
He's going to choose to ignore that and just march everything up north. Why not?
Yeah, he's starting to set up some defenses as well. Watchdogs for the Skithracors and...
1 medic falls.
Yeah, just scouting around and seeing what's going on. The
phalanxes
falls. Are about to start deploying here. That's going to be a very short-lived victory lap over in the mid-left, and they're even being repaired
charges
now,
forward.
Yeah, it's the individual unit control that's really falling apart for a lot of these conditions where you just have a couple of, you know, too many things to focus on. And the Bactylisks are getting sniped. Crucially, these ones are, you know, just getting killed before they can really do too much by the Phalanx overkill. Some of them even being pulled down. But again, Basilisks do pretty well against Siege Phalanxes, so if he can get enough of them, he might stand a chance. But now Meat has fallen
He needs
back.
gas so desperately. Another Wraith was annihilated.
He does have full saturation on the geysers that are available to him, but without a third base on this map, there's no ridge
He really
in your
wants
natural.
it, but he just can't get it.
Yeah.
Nope. The cleric went forward and got him that X-ray attack.
Well, the Iziricors are maybe going to accept these Cyprians, but... Oof. Every little misstep is just another drainage of resources. Anvils are on the way as well, so I think Meat wants to end this in style with a nuke if he's going to be given the opportunity. He's constructing a stockade on the front lines to give it a covenant. Nope, maybe not. He's actually going to just use it as a... perhaps a vision.
Yeah,
catcher.
to see that ledge in particular, so the Basilisks can't just snipe me.
There's just so much damage over here, picking off all of the Zoriustalats before they can even do anything.
Yep, secret backdoor.
Oh, he can sort of tickle the stockade anyway. Oh, he's using the bounces.
Yeah.
Look at that.
There you go. See, it can be helpful to Shambler too. And now he wants him to repair the stockade so he can keep using it for that.
Yes.
So once you got enough of the crooked dongs bouncing around, they can kill even the phalanxes. As long as he can stand there and shoot it, not get murdered in the process. No, he really wants it.
He does, but he can't get it.
Can't quite get it.
Oof.
Not a very favorable trade at the moment.
Ugh.
In fact, it's
The clerics healing the phalanxes are just way too much.
Yep.
Mystery about to be able to drop down a Daedala at his earliest convenience.
I mean, at this point, he can have so many tanks in just tank mode and just force his way inside.
Yeah.
Because they have enough armor to withstand some hits in that point.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he could A-move with just the phalanxes and win. I don't think there's much that could be done about it. A Quasrock pool is the choice, apparently.
You know what he needs? He needs naths. Thousands of naths. Bring us back to the old days. The madrigals are en route. It's been a little while since we've seen those, even though they are still very strong.
Got some Seraphs for the nuke job. Not interested in the Covenant after all. No Eidolons. Corey being set up at the fort. Yeah, I mean, again, this game is pretty much over, but Shambler is not yet interested in conceding.
Seraphs are pretty powerful, even without nukes.
Yes, just
The
dropping
irradiate is
irradiates, the
very
armor
strong.
rend that they do passively, the detection. Very heavy utility on that unit.
Now, the Basilisks can most certainly snipe this if it gets out of position, so he has to be a little careful with it, but it looks like he's just maybe going to try to snipe this main here, it looks like. Basilisks are a little slow, so...
I wonder why he even bothers staying in the game for that if he knows it, you know what I mean? Meet them.
It's okay, he's got his own meat.
He does.
It's coming.
he's got
It's
some
bulbous. And it even has testicles on it.
Well, he does see it, so...
Oh.
Absolutely
And he has
slow.
denied the nuke.
Denied the satisfaction.
Who's going to be typing now, bitch? Well, Neat is liable to try again. He's got more Seraphs en route. He's also making some Azazels that I haven't seen. I think I heard of them infinitely stacking armor at some point. I actually
Yeah,
don't know
that's
what they
been
do beyond
changed
that.
since then, but basically Meat was building them when each one of them added +1 armor, and or maybe it was +2 armor, so he built like 2,000 Azazels. But not going to be required here. The charge is going to happen, and just getting choked out
Oh,
here.
these Seraphs are also going to die.
Don't worry. They'll sass them in exchange.
You almost got both of them.
Don't worry, there's more where that came from.
Ah. Now, Shambler, that's 1,000 minerals you could be putting into Zethagor's, but he is actually making matchable nest.
Wonder what he's gonna do with that if given the opportunity.
Well, you know, I think Matroliths would actually be quite effective here. They would really tie up the tanks depending on how the engagement goes and how many corpses he gets to work with. But
yeah,
he
I
kind of
guess-
needs an army to actually engage with it, which at the moment he doesn't really have.
You also haven't even seen the new Matrolith, so it's kind of interesting if we.
Oh,
do get
there's a
chance
new one. He's trying to defend these traps. He really
Yes,
wants to get these nukes.
He's
off.
gonna use D-Matrix for it, yeah. You can use it to single target heal, which is kind of funny. Just notice the regenerating one on the left there.
Nuclear launch detected.
Oh, there's no. Okay, now he's coming. It's a little late response this time. I don't think that defense matrix is even going to make a difference here. It actually wore off. No, it didn't.
He set it back.
Nope, there's another one. Nope.
Shambler, what do you do?
Oh,
Oh my god. Because of his SimCity with that spray that forced all of his workers into the radiation, and his whole main has no more workers.
Nope. No.
Ah, and it's dying gas.
Right on the nose.
And the Excisant died too.
What a shame. What a rotten way to die. Alright, you know, I think in Meat's situation, what I would do is what I think he's doing. He's building the Daedala. And I guarantee you, he sits here patiently and waits until the Daedala is finished. And then once the Daedala is finished, he's going to make some testicular-shaped objects with feet on them, and he's going to surround Shambler in them. All the while slowly heckling him with HIV. Kind of like that one game where I mind controlled
Yes.
his worker.
Yes. I remember that.
You know, I may lose terribly in these tournaments, but I can always take heart in that I use somebody's worker to proxy ion cannon him.
It is the ultimate insult.
I don't think much is going to beat that.
Imagine denying one man as many things as
Where
he can
are the
possibly.
broodlings coming from? Oh, they're coming from the Zorith to the left. No, they're not. They're wait, what?
The Vilgaleth, which is that recolored egg graphic, spawns them once per second from corpses.
Oh,
And then when it
that's
dies, if it lives long enough, it creates a healing field, which is what that green stuff is. It's not.
oh, I see.
It's more used.
It looks.
For
It's the same graphic as Kes
Yes,
AIDS. Yeah.
We obviously need more custom ones. Maybe I
I
can
feel like
look
it should be a
and
little
find-
larger AOE for a healing aura, though. I don't know.
Yeah, that's also potentially true. We'll see about that.
I don't know. I mean, I would have to really see it in a real game, I suppose.
Yes. Yeah, at this stage we're.
I think it might be a little hard to use in combat, but could be really used out of combat. Now, the Daedala is getting complete. I don't know. I mean, Shambler might just rage quit due to irradiate at this point. If he's going to use diadems, he's going to need it soon. Oh, never mind. It's happening already. It begins. It begins. The heroic charge forwards.
He wants to make the nuke money shot worth it. He's giving us a thumbnail.
It really is. They all have AIDS.
Why not?
March of the AIDS.
Hey, some Cyprians did die, and I think I just saw
A Wraith
phalanx
died.
explode.
Everyone has AIDS. I mean, he's not wrong.
What a way
Where's
to
the
end.
diadems?
There must be some unknown beef they have with each other about the word mile. I
don't know.
I'm not sure what that is, but Shambler has finally given us the conclusion of that stupid game. So, all right, Mesk, you're up next to face off against Meat.
All right.
You are going to be playing on Crossguard, Terminus, or Wellington. You pick.
Okay, let me have a little look here.
Yeah. That's the Badlands looking map, the Twilight map, and the Ice map.
Let's do Crossguard. I haven't played that one before.
Perfect. All right. I shall return to you momentarily. And ladies and gentlemen, we will be seeing what happens with Mystery Meat versus Mesk, a rematch happening as I update the scores here. I also love Shambler. He's always so silly. Doesn't look like he's going to be spectating this match, but I pinged him just to ask. He's actually gone offline, so absolutely owned. Yes, I did see your question earlier, Alexander. This is on the latest release update. Shambler just hasn't played on this patch at all since he was practicing for the grand finals. So, as a result, he has no idea if the Quaz is any good. So. All right. If Shambler does want to spectate, he'll have to do it through the stream because we are going to Crossguard for the 6th map in our set. Is that correct? Or is this the... Yeah, this will be the 6th map. This means our final map will be set on none other than... oh, wait, no. Yeah, that's right. It's Terminus or Wellington, depending on what happens here. Depending on who picks what. Haha, yes. So, Mesk is notorious for being really silly. He's going to go ahead and drop a pylon over here, which is unlikely to be scouted in his mind, so that he can do some silly tech things. And Mystery, on the other hand, is a superior player mechanically, and definitely, I would say, has a stronger idea of what to do in the early game to be safe, and just sort of scale up and then be a little silly, perhaps, on his own. We might see him try to cheese Mesk. But I don't, as much as it seems like, oh, they're just going to toy with Mesk a little bit and then Mesk is going to lose, I don't think either one of the players actually wants to lose to Mesk, especially not in a tournament. So that's a different kind of pressure, which is kind of interesting to think about. There's going to be Cenotaph here, which is sort of what I predicted based on the resource counts. 125 minerals, 50 gas is what the Cenotaph costs. So if that does indeed go unscouted, which I'm not sure how to assign a probability to that, but we'll see. It could take Mystery Meat by surprise if a bunch of Legionnaires charge forward before he even has an anchor up. It's quite possible for that to be the case. So instead, yeah, Mystery Meat checking out what's going on over here. Is there something I should know? Nothing up here on the high ground. There was some silly high ground shenanigans that went down earlier. And yep, okay, he figured out exactly where the silly tech might have been. So Mesk will be slightly befuddled. What is he going to do now that he sees there's a Cenotaph? It's actually building a Hierophant, which is good at picking off isolated infantry units, but obviously has really limited kill pressure on something like an Anchor. You're not really going to see it do much of anything. So it will be a Cyprian follow-up after the Maverick. And again, I talked about this with Mesk. You leave Mist's Mason alone, he will build an anchor in your backline. No rally point on the Cenotaph, so the Hierophant will be caught in a slightly awkward position and not immediately move and do anything. So it's going to go ahead and maybe move its way down in an attempt to attack into the base. Again, we don't see an anchor out, so, you know, Mystery Meat keeping his money low, queuing up some more workers. Maybe he's going to go ahead and drop one next. Maybe he's going to go for some other kind of structure. We'll see what he wants to do. He's actually not using his quarry very much right now, so. There's the anchor. Maverick, a couple Cyprians. The Hierophant will catch the Maverick on its way over here, I think. Oh, no. Maybe they just barely pass each other. It's kind of interesting to see. Stargate on the high ground. That's interesting. See if that gets scouted. And, yeah, you can see here that the Maverick, in this particular case, I think, is just going to go ahead and scout out and see what's going on. The two Cyprians are going to try to make a rendezvous with the anchor over there. And, yeah, we are indeed going to see some cheeky stuff. Now, the good news about the Stargate is that the land effect does disable units inside anchors. That was a bug fix that I made somewhat recently. So, that wasn't happening before. Now it is. And with the Stargate, we'll be able to use the land effect and maybe just shut that down completely. You never know. So, it really depends on how soon this thing strikes and whether a land effect is even going to be selected as the unit of choice. So, Hierophants are going to poke their heads over here. There are two Cyprians in that anchor. And at this point, that Mason will go ahead and fall away. I'm going to try to tickle the anchor, but obviously you're not going to get too much damage done. And he didn't move in time to stop it, so he's going to see if he can move around the other way. Now, there's a Panoptus. I think he probably saw that anchor. So he's going to go forward with the Panoptus. He does have a Hierophant over here, but... Absolutely slapped. Well, this is an absolute disaster. You know, it's funny, because when we first saw a map like Crossguard, he pointed out that this ridge is buildable, and that if you're not... And I said, yeah, if you don't catch the anchor on the way, it can definitely catch you by surprise and be potentially quite powerful here. And he didn't really seem to be too interested in doing something about that, so... He has the Panoptus out, but he's long-distance mining. And I think this one's going to be over quickly. Now, he does have the Panoptus. I don't think he can realistically do much damage here. He's going to try to link up with his Hierophant and his Legionary. He's pretty much required to do some sort of all-in if he's going to do much of anything. And I think at this point there's just too much going on here. And especially with only 3 HP on his Panoptus. Still nothing doing about this anchor, which, again, he could have built a land effect to just shut it down completely, but instead built a second Panoptus instead. Mesk is defiant, but I think he's going to realize the writing is on the wall here. Nope. The anchor is moving down even further. Why not? Well, the Panoptuses are going to go ahead and try their trade at popping down some of the HP there, but he's going to use the flash shielding as well. I'm not sure he can get out exactly. No, he's not going to be able to get out. He will have set it to burn, but not that many shields for the Panoptus. I don't think he can even make it in there to try to do anything about that at this point. So this is bad. And I'm very surprised that Mesk is still in the game. I'll tell you that much. He's actually depleted these minerals because he's been mining them. Not depleted, but like got them down to that level of that number. Impressive, honestly. He's going to scout the presence of the expansion. He's just sort of confirming how messed up he is. Well, That's finally been popped. He's not going to be able to escape the... Well, there's the GG. And that will conclude that game. Let me update the scores. All right.
I'm not really fond of those maps that have ledges directly next to your main that you can drop anything on. Because when I look at it, I didn't even know you could even go up there. Otherwise, I would have scouted it.
Oh, you're talking about the one that has the ramp.
Well, the one that he had his bunker on, I had no idea that was even terrain you could get up.
Oh, he landed it there.
Crow?
Yeah, I know. But I didn't know that was pathable terrain that was up there.
I was really surprised you didn't go for a LAN effect since it disables everything. I would have just shut the whole
Well,
thing down.
I was actually just wanted to kill his shit and have map control. But it didn't matter at that point because he already had a bunker behind my main and killed most of my workers. It didn't make a difference what I did.
Yeah. Well, I meant as soon as you see the like the LAN effect build time isn't that long. So you would have been, if you pulled your workers at that point, you obviously would have lost some mining time, but you would have
I was lost the moment that landed behind there. I lost too much, and I banked too much on him moving out of his base in any shape or... I thought he was going to fast expand right away because it was a larger map.
Yeah.
Which is why I went out with Hierophants, was to try to catch some of his shit. But the Hierophants are actually useless in siege. So they were not going to contribute anything to actually attacking his base. But I'd already invested, so I had to do something because there was already shit in my base. So it was just a straight-up comp loss, basically.
Yeah. I think, looking at it, the ledge could certainly be unbuildable at the very least. I think dropping is probably fine if you can scout it, but there was no...
Like, against Terran, it always feels like you have to do really specific things because anchors are so powerful and so mobile. You have to play a really specific way to deal with that. Like, I scouted all over the place where I thought he might build one. Because, you know, I saw his SCV go on the right. I didn't want to spend all this time chasing his SCV, losing mining time when I was going to try to build a Stargate. And then I checked the top, and I was looking around there, and I never saw it come over, because it went right up the top to an area that I didn't even know was pathable. And you have to do that, like, every single game. No matter what they build, if it's bio or otherwise. It's kind of tedious in many ways.
I'll consider the feedback when I'm not super tired after casting all day, and I can actually engage with the thought, because I didn't immediately follow what you were saying, but...
Plus, it's like, you can never attack Terran. You can't put early aggression on them like you can Protoss or Zerg, because anchors shut down literally everything. Only in specific maps that are super open, or if they're really bad with their placement, can you start to get access to their workers. But even on a map like this, it's still very open. You still can't get access to the workers because of the range increase. So I can't, like, tickle the barracks. I can't try to snipe things coming out of it.
Well, hold on, because I might have actually just messed this one up on my own here, so... I think I forgot to count one of the wins and one of the losses. So wait, Mist is a 4-1, Shambler is 2-2. Because Shambler beat you. Yeah, okay. It looks like you're going to face off against Shambler, and if you win the next two, then you play a tiebreaker. But if he wins any of the next games, then he qualifies. So.
Okay. I feel like I have a chance against Shambler if I can get him to just type the entire game.
There you go. You can just have some NPC dialogue with him and ask him how the weather is and stuff. He'll type. All right. GLGGDDDS. All right. The Shambler is going to face off against IskatuMesk. If the Shambler wins, he qualifies to semifinals. And if Mesk wins, he has to play another game. And if Mesk wins that game, he has to play another game. And if Mesk wins 3 in a row, he qualifies to the semifinal. So them's the stakes. Sending out 2 scribes very, very fast. I assume one of them will build a pylon here. There it is. The other one is, of course, going to do something cheeky. You can see it pathing around. Well, there you go. Mesk did say that if Shambler types the whole game, he might have a chance. So, will we see him take a victory? It's possible. I'm not sure what he's... Now, on this map, you can take advantage of the neutral crucible. It's not something that I don't think anybody's actually done, but it's possible. He's actually got a second scribe here, and he's going to go ahead and cheekily throw down a pylon and run away with the gas. So. Now, that did finish. He could go for a warden over here. Yeah, he's going to go it a little bit more daringly, and obviously that is going to be spotted, so... The Hydrock Den is out. Obviously, the workers are going to get pulled here and try to start whittling this down. Nothing in the gateway. Yeah, I think this proxy is very instantaneously going to have to get canceled, so it will get canceled. Worst psychological bait in the game, says Lundy. What do you mean? It's a good crucible. Oh, Dracodon has finally been started from the gateway. Meanwhile, Hydras are out. The ramp on this version of Terminus is a little bit more defensible. You can set up some units over here and start taking pot shots down as they try to cross. You can place the gateway here to block everything. It's a little bit further down. But if your only games are in the tournament, then it's kind of hard to remember that. Zesagi, as they say. Now, this scribe is still here. Could still do some sass. It's just a couple of Drakadins. I'm sure he's expecting some sort of Skithrakor play, but there's only going to be one out, so... At this point... 2 Drakadins, a third one on the way. A couple Hydras out. If the engagement doesn't go super well for Shambler, I mean, both of them are kind of focused on the... I guess they're kind of focused on the economic game, but yeah. The key thing here is that the Drakadins weren't there to guard that because they were expecting something very different. And now the Hydras are a little bit caught off guard here. So they'll trade 1 Hydra for 1 Drakadin and then leave. Obviously fairly cost efficient there. The Skithrakor is now out, and there is still no Warden. So that could pull the, obviously a couple of those could certainly pull the Drakadins away if they go to the mineral line. Well, one of them did just finish and is going to go ahead and try to focus down some damage, but it's not focused, so... And he can't go back that way, so he's going to go the other way. He did live for 3 HP for one moment, but I think that's just going to be the game because of a very silly set of circumstances. Where Mesk tried to do a Warden rush, and he's now going to try to tickle him. Can't finish his Drakadin. GG is called. And that will be the conclusion of Group B, with Shambler coming out on top. Well, that was
I was going to go Templar Archives. I had it in my mind to rush Optectons, actually.
The failed Warden attempt at the start was probably a little bit rough.
I was thinking, don't some things have higher vision range now? It makes it a lot harder to do that. I couldn't really tell, like, if he would have... I figured he might have had vision on it because I could see the drone. It's hard to do it against Zerg in particular.
Well, the thing that it makes me think of is... I was actually thinking that Skiths probably have a little bit too much vision range for what they are, but 50 gas is still pretty big. But as far as the vision range goes, I don't think I adjusted it for workers, but if you had built the Warden on the high ground to get the cliff advantage to cover the one on the low ground, that probably would have helped you out a lot.
I was thinking of that, but then I figured he was going to go Skiths first, and if it didn't have at least 1 Drakadin in my base, I was just going to die instantly to 1 Skith, and it wouldn't have mattered what the cannons did.
And this, of course, is the first game he decided to go Hydras.
Yeah, a little unfortunate. I was kind of thinking, oh, he'll go Skith, and then he'll probably rush me because he sees a cannon and I can kill a Skith, and then that might slow him down ever so slightly. But I almost managed to pin him in the base with the Drakadin, but the Drakadin got stuck in his front Hydra.
Oh, he went Hydra because he saw the Warden.
And,
that's why he went Hydra to begin with. So.
And then he was further ahead than I thought he was because 1 gateway, LOL.
Yeah, if you had placed that a little bit further in the choke, it would have blocked the worker.
You can't. It won't go in any further.
No?
No, I'm pretty sure that's as much as it'll go in. I spaced it out, too. I was like, surely this will stop things from squeezing through. I see all of his fucking workers just pile on through. I'm like, come on. Even his Hydras go through.
Well, I'm doing it right now, and it seems to work fine.
I don't know.
I'll show you.
I was looking at it, and that seemed like the ideal play.
This is the... Right here is where you'd want it.
Oh.
So not here, but here.
I see, yeah. Well, they both looked about the same to me anyways.
Yeah, it's deceptive how it works.
I don't think it would have made a difference in that game anyways. I mean, he could have just gone around the back if he really had to, but... I'm not going to win most of those games. It's not really going to make a difference. I have to relearn how everything works.
Yeah.
Because Zerg can get gas much faster now, which means you can very comfortably go Skith and Hydras. And you couldn't really do that before. There was some slowdown. Like, idols were the good choice in the first game. I didn't really want to, like, when I saw Hydras, it's like, well, it's going to take me too long to get idols anyways, and idols didn't seem to do too well against Hydras.
They would do okay. The problem is you would need some sort of buffer to keep them off. Like, the Hydras move a little bit faster, right? Idols move pretty good, too, anyway.
Otherwise, I was actually just going to go straight to Templar Archives. That was my goal. I already had 400 gas.
I noticed you were banking some stuff, but yeah.
I was thinking of getting Positrons again, but then I thought, well, if he's going to go Skeths, and if I repel them with the Draconins, then I won't have to worry. And then he's probably going to transition out of Skeths again, and I'll have Tectons ready for that. But then I saw Hydras, and I was like, well, he's probably just going to attack with Hydras, but I never saw the Skeths. I didn't think he was going to have Skeths and Hydras at that point. I thought when the first set of Hydras backed away, I would be able to hold off for a while longer and take I was actually just going to build a Crucible in that expansion because I didn't have enough minerals for a Nexus. I mean, it still feels more manageable to deal it that way. Like, that's like a mix of the lost money from trying to make the Wardens and some of the lost mining time and then the one Draconin going down. But like against Terran, it feels like you're a lot less capable of doing too much against that.
Yeah, we'll evaluate that. Like the obvious thing to me is,
I think it's like it's a combination. Like it didn't feel super oppressive before, but that's because you did more damage faster before. I don't think you've changed healing times for clerics or repair times for workers.
Right.
So those scaled up significantly when you reduced the killing effectiveness of other units and their armor penetration and stuff like that. It made the healing way stronger. That's kind of like what I'm noticing the trend in this is when you've got Cleric Goliath, they become nearly unkillable because the healing is so much more powerful than it used to be. And the repairing on the bunkers is even harder to deal with than it was before. Whereas before, sometimes you could just brute force it down. Even if there was a few Masons repairing it, because they weren't going to repair it fast enough to deal with things that have like 1-2 armor pen all over the place.
Well, the thing is, since the lethality is less, you also aren't losing your units as much. So I actually don't know how it washes out exactly.
It turns into a longer fight,
yeah.
But it's a sustained fight you generally don't win in. Like, I was really, really surprised by, like, when Meat had his army on move and he lost, like, half of it. And he turned around and he just won anyways. And largely with, like, only, like, a quarter of it remaining. Because as the units died, the clerics were just healing.
They were consolidating their healing, and also the focus fire was not... Shambler wasn't really focusing at that point, because he probably thought he won the fight or something.
It also doesn't help that, like, the clerics are also pretty tanky. Like, everything is pretty tanky.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure there could be some adjustment there. I was thinking of clerics being a bit more expensive and maybe looking into that way. Obviously, they no longer cost any gas, so that could be something that could be reintroduced. As far as the anchor is concerned, I think if you make it less durable than it currently is, it suddenly makes Terran very volatile, or potentially could. So there's already been a
feel very enslaved to the anchor.
Yeah,
That's kind of the thing. Like, if you don't build anchors, you're at a massive disadvantage. But like the anchor, that's
a hypothesis I share. I don't know if bearing it out would be true, but yes, they definitely feel like they govern a lot of the early decisions.
Because like before, when I played, I always went Fulcrum, and I almost never built bunkers ever, unless I was feeling like against Shambler, if I felt like he was going to all in with Zeths, then I might build one and put like quickly like toss a Cyclops or something in there.
Yeah.
But other than that, I never really built them. I would go vultures. I would invest in vultures instead and use mines to control the map instead. But now mines are a support weapon, and Cyclops aren't as powerful. And Goliaths are still... The Goliaths feel about the same to me. They kind of retained their old power, which is probably why they stand out so much, is because they didn't really get HP nerfs.
No, they were made more durable and just lowered their attack rate.
Yeah, so they feel roughly about the same from what I've used and from what I've seen. Is That's kind of why they sort of stand out, especially with clerics at this point, is the healing is more effective, and the Goliaths remain kind of where they were while everything else kind of went down. Like, could you imagine trying to do Quasruk against cleric Goliath? I don't think that would go very well. You would have a very, very hard time putting damage onto them. And, you know, before you could kind of do that because the Voracors would slow down the clerics and you could kind of like try to get surrounds on them. But now it seems like the damage, when you start focusing on them, it takes several volleys to actually kill individual clerics, even if they're currently healing the Goliath. Depending on what it is that's attacking them, it's kind of why the Basilisks make such a big difference.
Yeah.
It's just the ambient damage just becomes too much for them to deal with, right? So
yeah, at that point you would want to transition into like shamans or something, but that would require you to have more setup. So, I mean, on the one hand, I think the anchors and structures like the whole idea of like literally bunkering down and you know doing the whole tank turret crawl and stuff like that is really thematic for Terran. So I don't necessarily mind that as a result. Anchors are kind of commonplace, but I would say that I look at it like if we can allow pathways that have less of a reliance on them to still be valuable and viable, that would be a valuable thing about the game. So like obviously having a little bit more diversity in there instead of just being, oh yeah, you have to spam this thing. And I think maybe one way to do that would be simply addressing the cost part of it. So if you are going to go for more defensive play, or you're going to go for these saucer meta things that 3Crow is doing a lot of, or that obviously Meat does, then it's going to put you behind a little bit more because it costs more resources. I think the build time on them is probably fine, but...
How much does a Cyprian cost?
75-25.
Okay, so if you put 2 Cyprians in a bunker, that's going to be about 250 minerals.
Yes,
and then 50 gas.
Yeah.
And you can very, very, very reliably get those into most people's bases on most of these maps. If you're able to kill a handful of workers, that's going to pay for itself in minerals pretty much right away. Generally, they're going to have to disengage from the worker line right away, too. It's definitely like a cost thing, because you can, like, this is happening constantly, and then people are immediately transitioning into standard play right after it. And there's not really a lot of drawback from it. Now, I don't think we're quite really at the skill level where if you increase it by 50 minerals, it's going to actually make a significant difference in that regard, because even Meat is floating like thousands of minerals at that point, right? So, you know, there's not really like min-max. People aren't being able to min-max each other's individual miss expenditures or misplays or whatever. But it's certainly like, it feels like that even in that case, it's still very safe to be super aggressive with these things, where you don't even really have to give much second thought to it. It's like the opportunity is there to take it. If it doesn't work, well, shucks, I lost like some time, right? In more closer, super tight maps where maybe the other player is being super hyper aggressive, you can't really do that because, you know, they might find it. And maybe you don't want to tie up your stockade on building 2 Cyprians that may or may not do anything. But then that kind of like pushes us back to where we were before, where like fast expanding is a really bad idea. You always have to devote all your gas, early gas and stuff like that, to building units because the game is super volatile early on. And it feels like that's the case with the anchors explicitly. And like that, I don't know, like that's kind of like also a map related thing. That to me isn't like, I haven't been subjected to that enough times that I'm like super vehemently opposed to it yet. What I have a problem with is that ever since I've started this, I've never been able to break a Terran's defense when they have anchors in their base. No matter what units I bring, no matter what point in the game I come in early on before like tier 2, if I'm trying to kill anchors, I'm not going to be able to because they're just going to be healed right up immediately.
Yeah.
And the workers are also durable enough at this point that, you know, like Draconins aren't going to kill them very quickly. You're taking tons of damage. It's hard to even, like, I had a hard time using Panoptises just to try to get that thing down into the red because the damage in the range, even against the area units, is so high that just trying to go in and out, they deal so much damage. I can't even get like any more than like one shot off, and I'm already taking hull damage off of them on like, what is it, like a tier 1 unit or a tier 2 unit, whatever a Panoptis is. It's
supposed to be a fairly powerful unit, yeah, but it's not going to take a... At that point, that's just because of the nature of the beast. Like I was speculating that Cyprians could use a slight attack cooldown increase even before we changed the way the penetration rules work. But I wasn't going to stack multiple changes on top of them.
Yeah, well, yeah, you want to change one thing and then kind of like wager how much of a difference it makes. And, you know, you don't ever want to knee jerk on something even if it feels like it's super really broken, because, you know, especially when you make a whole bunch of changes at once, then they're going to overlap in ways, and you want to kind of know how they're going to go together.
Yeah.
Anyways, those games were just as terribly one-sided as I knew they were going to be on my behalf, but hopefully Mystery and Shambler didn't get too bored with that.
Well, I think the game that you entertained Mystery Meat in with all of the proxy, silly Protoss stuff on Main Street, that was a worthy addition. So there's that. And you were pretty close to being able to really compete with Shambler on Infinite Velocity as well. So I think there's room for you to maybe become more familiar as the meta sort of irons out a little bit. But we'll see how
I was able to
works.
take rounds off of Shambler in the past.
Yeah.
Actually, on that map on more standard play.
Yeah.
I haven't actually played against Mystery before in any 1v1, I don't think, except for maybe once prior to this.
Right.
And I think that was a cheese match anyways.
Yeah.
So it's I learned a little bit. Terran it feels too different for me to really play too much right now. But Protoss feels like I know really what the units do and where I kind of want to go. And what kind of works. But I'm also like not confident in standard play at all. So I will always do stuff like, if I'm not proxying, I'm trying to get some tech or something, trying to guess what my enemy is going to get. And then try to plan ahead for that.
Well, it's already almost 1 a.m. my time, and that's pretty shocking.
We have been running this.
We started at 3 p.m. So.
Yeah.
And before that, I was doing a dev stream for like 2 hours. So I've been going since 1 p.m.
I went to bed at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
I woke up at 3 a.m. That was my sleep for the day. And then we started at, let's see, I think we hopped in here about 11:30.
Yeah.
It is now just about 10 p.m. I've only eaten once, and I had coffee many hours ago, and I'm still haven't slept or done anything. So it's, you know.
And I thank you very much for your time, because it's been a real wild ride. But we'll figure out when the rest of the stuff is. I think there will be a longer than a 1 week break for the next tournament. So we'll see when Ascension 3 is going to be. But now that we've wrapped the bow on number 1, and we can look at see off the rest of number 2 in style, we have a little bit more time to plan things out and figure out when the playoffs are going to be for this one. So now we can just enjoy a nice little nap.
Yep.
So,
go back to work on Apex Hacks and try to forget all the atrocities that were committed on me today.
And all the dead Mavericks by Benno.
Yeah, well, that was entertaining. That was just... I mean, you gotta hand it. This man was dedicated. Absolutely dedicated.
It's true. All right, and
he
we're
was
dedicated.
playing Zerg the whole time. Nobody realized.
Yes, we're dedicated to bringing you guys more content in the future. So thanks. Shout out to Hoopthrower for throwing us a couple bucks earlier. That was nice. And shout out to Mesk for joining us for the cast to begin with. And you actually. So I'll be seeing you guys soon. Peace.